since last week in preparation for Monday. Speaking in Nakuru yesterday, Raila insisted that the march to State House on Monday will be peaceful.
Kwa hiyo hatuwezi kutishwa. Tarehe 20 tutaonana wao ana kwa ana. Biashara wa Kikuyu wasiwe na wasiwasi yoyote, wasihangaishwe na hiyo porojo. Sisi tutalinda biashara ya kila mtu. Wakikuyu ni wa Kenya. Wakikuyu walinipigia mimi kura mingi zaidi. Sisi hatuwezi kuharibu biashara ya mtu yoyote. Sisi tunataka kuboresha uchumi. Tunataka kueneza ajira kwa Wakenya. Hatuwezi kwenda kuharibu biashara ya mtu mdogo.
Other Azimio leaders also urged Kenyans who aren't able to get to Nairobi to demonstrate where they are, urging them not to destroy anyone's property as life was already tough for most Kenyans.
Even in Nakuru, you have a right to demonstrate wherever you are. Kama ufiki Nairobi, fanya kazi hapa Nakuru.
Many Kenyans today have been warmed by fires that were lit by Raila Odinga. They are also enjoying water from the wells of democracy that Raila Odinga dug. So let us respect Raila Odinga, our champion for democracy.
Na sisi huyu Ruto na Gashaga yake tutasukumana na hawa mpaka bei ya chakula itaenda chini.
Na tutaki mtu yoyote apore mali ya mwananchi yoyote.
At the same time, Raila has threatened to sue President William Ruto over defamation remarks. Raila states that he'll be moving to court after Ruto claimed that he took part in the 1982 failed coup, despite the court clearing him of the accusations.
I was discharged for lack of any evidence against me. And that's why I was discharged from the charge of treason in 1983. So Ruto, mimi sikukuwa na mahalifu yoyote. Serikali ilishindwa kunishtaki mimi, wakalazimishwa kuniwacha mimi huru. Mimi nitakushtaki wewe kwa kuharibu jina yangu.
As the probe into the irregular payment of 6 billion shillings in the Telkom Kenya buyout saga intensifies, the Joint Committee on Finance and Communication has gone back to the drawing board in an attempt to unravel the scandal. The committee has now summoned former Treasury CS Ukuri Yatani to appear before it to explain why he authorized the payments and whether the payments were sanctioned by a cabinet meeting. The committee has also summoned former Secretary to the Cabinet and Head of Public Service Joseph Kinywe, as well as former Treasury PS Julius Muya.
If you want to remove a checker, you must deal with its ex.
What security concern was it that approved this? And yes, once we call the cabinet secretary, we shall establish whether there was a cabinet memo or not, whether there was a cabinet decision, or whether it was a unilateral decision that was made.
A heated exchange ensued during the session yesterday, with a section of committee members demanding that former ICT CS Joe Musheru be summoned. The committee has also dispatched letters to Jamhuri Holdings for any of its directors to appear before it. However, Helios Investment Limited has its directors in Mauritius Island, Cayman Island and the United Kingdom, among others.
That you can see this whole thing was about the government investment in Telkom Kenya. Chair, now that you're saying anybody and everybody, I think Chair also, if need be, maybe this committee be allowed to go to Cayman Islands, Mauritius and the UK, so that we know who are these Indians.
And in the international scene, Colombia President Gustavo Petro says an explosion at a coal mine in the central part of the country has left 21 miners dead after 10 more bodies were found in the pit. A build-up on the methane gas apparently triggered the Tuesday night explosion in the underground complex, according to local officials. That's the Newswire. I'm Leah Ubaga.
Modern Vibes, where you are the MVP. Morning and welcome to Friday. So we're looking at the dregs of what was left from yesterday's rains. A little bit of flooding here and there is going to slow you down in certain parts, and that's right coming out of Westlands on Wayaki Way. So watch out for that. We're not quite sure how deep those pools are, but more or less you should be all right. Coming off Thika Superhighway, we're not seeing anything too alarming at the moment. We will see some traffic getting into the city later on. Okay, so it looks like we started off Friday not too poorly. Jogger Road has a little bit of action here and there as you're getting out towards Landis and then out towards Kamkunji. Apart from that, should be all right. It's a few minutes after 6 o'clock. Let's see what happens as the day progresses. Talk to us on SpiceFM KE on Twitter.
.5 Spice FM Kisumu. This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Oko, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latif, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is The Situation Room, the only way to...
How you doing? Happy Friday. It's the 17th of March 2023. Welcome to The Situation Room. Mambo.
Posana.
Hey, you're looking nice.
Thank you.
Do you have a new hairdo?
I do. It started raining yesterday. Did you notice? And somebody like me whose hair grows very quickly. The rain is like I'm a farm. The moisture in the air would now start doing things.
For real, eh?
Yeah, so I had to salvage the situation lest I start looking like Mufasa.
Had Linturi sent you fertilizer?
That's what my mama gave me.
Unatumia DNA ama?
Ile mama yangu.
Unatumia fertilizer gani?
Kufanya?
Kwa hiyo nywele yako? We. Bwana Muga?
Yes, please.
Mambo
ni mazuri.
Lakini how are you?
How are you? Yangu ni poa.
Okay, so.
Hofu kwako vile Waswahili husema bwana.
Sina maneno.
Wewe hapana iko maneno.
Sina maneno. No way.
Na pia huna makosa.
Sorry.
Sina matara.
Sina makosa.
Huna matara.
Kilamtu, good morning and welcome to the show. Today we're going to have several discussions. At 8 o'clock, there's something called the Kenya National Trading Corporation, KNTC. Over the last couple of months, KNTC has been in the news a lot in terms of it's being charged with stabilization of commodity prices in the country. Yeah? They're the ones who are okay to import things, to coordinate importation of grain, of not flour. What else are they importing?
No, grain.
Grain.
But also
grain.
No, not just grain. KNTC historically
fertilizer.
Imported, yes, you're right, almost everything. Bicycles, yes, wheelbarrows.
It was the government importer.
Yes, it was. It was. It brought in literally, you could find almost anything. The other thing, I never saw cars, but KNTC, you could actually get almost anything from KNTC.
Interesting.
Yes, it was a genuine trading corporation.
It's a big one.
Yes,
and then it has warehouses across the country. Huge real estate. So the managing director, Pamela Mutua, will be joining us at 8 a.m. to tell us how they are impacting consumer commodity prices in the country. There was that story the other day about how KNTC has identified, I don't know how many shops to where
It was 120,000.
120,000 shops.
That they're going to flood with cheap goods.
Where now those cheap goods are going to be distributed.
No mention of the quality of the goods.
Just don't even think about it. Just
quality, you know, now there are the other quality assurance agencies, Kinaka, BS, and the others. Higher. She'll be here at 8. Let's talk about that. At 9, it's this is World Glaucoma Week 2023. Dr. Rebecca Nandasaba is an ophthalmologist at the Kenyatta National Hospital. She comes in at 9 a.m. to talk about glaucoma. Yes? And glaucoma is, you know, like glaucoma. Glaucoma.
It's a disease. It affects the eyes. Yeah.
And then what do the eyes do?
Well, glaucoma can actually lead to blindness. They get kind of like a blighted status, so they look as though they are almost translucent. That's the situ. But then sight is affected. There's sometimes pain, sometimes painless, but can often lead to blindness. And it is a condition that comes along with other diseases. You'll find some folks who are diabetic then also will have glaucoma. Or it just affects the eyes without having any other underlying condition. But if it's treated in time, you can actually survive glaucoma. But unfortunately, some cases leads to blindness.
Yes, usually it's something that has damaged the optic nerve. But as you guys very aptly put it, a disease that leads to this. And you know, like most diseases, if understood and caught early, it can be cured. But if not, end result, blind. And this time, no pun intended, you will not be as blind as a bat, you'll just be blind.
Be blind.
Yes.
So the ophthalmologist from KNH will be here with us at 9 a.m. to discuss that. Yep. Welcome. Those are the conversations to have. Of course, we have to look at what is going to happen this weekend into Monday. Demonstrations. And what happened yesterday? The president nominated 50 people to the position of Chief Administrative Secretary. And those ones now are to be vetted by Parliament. Those are the discussions to have. Be ready. Be prepared.
Be ready.
Completely. Be ready. Sindio? Yeah. You'll tell us about, as you tell us about the weather, you'll also tell us about what's happening in Malawi, Sindio?
Yes.
The latest from that country.
And interestingly enough, another M, but it's a county here, Marsabit. Very interesting. In the few days that there's been rain, there's already flooding in Marsabit.
Oh, yeah.
So, I mean, how bad can you have it? A few days ago, it was dry as... And now, those holes have been filled.
See, the discussion about drought is incomplete if you do not have a discussion about a deluge of water and what to do with it. And we have talked about this at great length to the point of even having saliva dry in our mouths. The question now one would ask is, what did the county government of Marsabit do in preparation for the rains? Because when you hear flooding, it means if there are certain water passageways, they're actually called rivers and streams and what have you. It means silt probably gathered at the bottom, so its capacity to retain water at any level was minimized, isn't it? So it will flood. So all these questions arise. Drought, natural occurrence. Rain, natural occurrence. Now, what have we done and what are we going to do with the rain? Because it seems like it's coming in plenty.
Yeah. It may not be sufficient to grow crop, but it's sufficient to actually harvest. 17 after 6, let's take that break to take a look at the weather forecast and find out what's happening in the country and elsewhere with this kind of weather that we're experiencing. Are you online? Do like that. Let us know where you're tuned in from, and we will acknowledge your presence shortly.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Yolanda Mulwa, DJ Absolute. When the gang is together, got the sugar, got the spice.
Yorada.
Yes.
I have missed you like hot hamburgers.
Like hot hamburgers.
You know, bad boys give more money than you can count.
Hey, bad boys give more money than you can count. If it's fun, it's funky, it's fresh, you're definitely going to catch it here. Ow! I don't know what you do every day from 11 a.m. to 3 o'clock, but if I were you, I'd tune into
Sugar and Spice only on 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
So if you say it's a bit of a drizzle in certain parts of Nairobi, highs of 26 and lows of 15. It's clear at 15 in Nakuru, highs of 25. We'll see highs of 24 in a cloudy Nyeri at 16. It's clear at 13 for now in Eldoret, highs of 23 and lows of 12. And looking into Mombasa, it's partly cloudy at 26 with highs of 33. It'll go to highs of 32 in a clear Malindi, currently at 26. It's 19 and clear in Kisumu, highs of 28, and we'll see highs of 27 in Kakamega. It's currently clear at 17. 19 and mostly cloudy conditions in Kampala, highs of 25, and we'll see highs of 33 in Dar es Salaam, where it's cloudy at 26. It's 12 and clear in Johannesburg, highs of 24, and we'll go to highs of 33 in a clear Lagos at 26. 24 and cloudy in Kinshasa, highs of 31 and lows of 23. Friday afternoon is reading cloudy in Beijing at 6 degrees. It'll see highs of 10 and lows of 1. It's cloudy in Paris at 8, highs of 15 today, and London will see highs of 14, even if it's cloudy right now at 12. It's 9 degrees and clear Thursday night in New York. Coming into Friday, we'll see highs of 14 and lows of 6.
Chilled Spice.
All right, who's online?
All right. Well, I wish I could tell you. Okay. Well, I can tell you a few. Good morning, Gashuhi Titus said good morning. Team Samuel Karanja says anacheza kama yeye. Okay. Robert Bogo tuned in this morning from Mombasa, and Stanley is asking, did the Met guys indicate how long the rains would last? They're here, man. Let's just enjoy it. Stanley, I see you from the foot of Mount Kilimanjaro. Carlosian Keed says good morning. Mapema ndio best za picha za date 20 zishatoka aki Kenya sihami. Ateke. Picha gani?
The next week. Oh, pictures are Monday.
Oh.
What will be happening on Monday?
Okay. Sawa. Femi's tuned in from Githogoro, and he says he is well representing. Victor Dhiambo is again showing us what it says on the front page of the Taifa Leo, and says marafiki wala nyama. Okay, let me try my Kiswahili again. It is Friday.
Try.
Serikali ya Rais Ruto itatumia zaidi ya shilingi bilioni 4 kulipa mshahara ya wandani I can't read that word, alioteua kama mawaziri wasaidizi jana, kulingana na makadirio ya Taifa Leo. Did you understand what I said? Yes. Oh, okay, fantastic.
That's what matters.
Sindio.
Okay.
That is it. Dixon said, good morning, tuned in from Keses, ready for the Situation Room, and he's asking what's on the show today. Well, here we are. Good morning, great people. Ndu, how are you? I am fine. Latif Siti Hamjambo, happy to hear your great voices. I am tuned. That's Peter Wagongo. Dan Mosiah says, tuned in. Welcome. Asante Sana. Teacher Bunde says, good morning, all the way from Gong in Kajiado County. Karibu Sana. John Wakiriani is also tuned in. George Mashuki tuned in as well. Chris is here. Samuel is here as well. Bill Dadogembo says he's tuned in from Kisi. What do I do to listen to you? So put on your radio.
Right. Ako happy? Kisi.
And raise the volume. 102.5. That's it. Kaboom. There's some city. If Kaboom was a person, it's here. There's a guy called Kaboom. And he says he's tuned in this morning. So there you go. Kapengoria inasikiliza. That's where Dennis is this morning. Muchanja is where Morris is tuned in from. And Omokaya is tuned in from Getari Village. Getari is in Embu, Meru, Getari, or Kisi.
I'm not certain. I don't think it's
I don't know either.
I don't know. I just felt.
I'm not certain.
It could be.
It could be any.
What's the name? Who's person? Who's the person?
Where Ednah, stop it. Omokaya.
As in Kisi.
It's Kisi?
Yes.
Okay. Dominic is also tuned in this morning, and Jenkins Mwank. Where has everybody come from all of a sudden? There are many people here with us this morning. We don't take it for granted, guys. Good morning, Karibuni Sana.
Everybody, welcome. It's Kung Fu dancing. City, the final day of reading the book.
Oh, sorry. Edna wanted me to say hi to people on YouTube.
On
That's
YouTube?
why she was doing that
Why don't
thing.
you say hi?
Nobody has
there's nobody
said hi.
But we can still say hi.
Hi, guys who are tuning on YouTube.
Hello, YouTubers.
Hello.
Welcome to our channel.
Hi, guys.
Hello.
City?
When the moon is shining, the cripple is hungry for a walk.
Yeah.
When the who is what?
When the moon is shining, and this has nothing to do with moonshine, actual moon actually shining, the cripple is hungry for a walk.
Why?
Well, this is the interesting thing about the proverb. Now, what I've been looking at the whole of this week and picking on the proverbs, there's an entire works that was actually written by two wonderful people, somebody by the name of Chintam Wenda and Yumino Suhadi. They are the ones who decided that this literary work cannot go without a thorough analysis of the proverbs. And they took the painstaking work of ensuring that they looked at it in detail and chambuad, and with every proverb they even gave it a theme. And the themes were, for instance, a personal view, a formal view, a religious view, a practical view, a cultural view, a cognitive view. Well,
of each proverb.
Every proverb that is mentioned. I said there are many. I only picked some. They, so meaning there's this poem. I mean, there's this proverb. But if you look at it, what is it speaking to? Okay, like the cultural view, for instance. Proverbs are the palm oil with which words are eaten. Heavy on culture. The role that palm oil plays in this community and what it's used for. And how it is they've weaved that into the proverb so that anyone who relates to palm oil can relate to the words and proverbs and the food that is being referred to therein, etc., etc. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Sawa. Let's look at the headlines.
All right, let's. Okay. On the Nairobian, that's what I'm going to look at this morning. Unfortunately, we've seen another death that has happened unexplainedly. Wild Party. We reveal the crazy happenings that led to the demise of Jeff Mwadhi in celebrated Mugithi DJ Fatco's apartment. That story is all over the place in terms of what happened. Was there a staged video? Was there truth that people did know about what happened to this young lad? He was young. Life snuffed out even before he was able to get to his prime. And the question is, why are we seeing more and more cases of these things? There are many allegations in terms of what was happening. Was there a whole, situationship with whomever was in a relationship with another man? I mean, it was an absolute mess, but it's really unfortunate that yet another young life has gone like that. That's what's on the front page
of the Nairobian.
Okay. No lean government has 50 to join cabinet is on the front page of the Standard. President has presented 50 names to Parliament for consideration of the position of Chief Administrative Secretary, whom, if approved, will push the number of senior government officials to 125. There are no strangers on these faces that we are seeing here, and it's also giving a little table there about the numbers compared to former President Uhuru Kenyatta's cabinets. All right. Raila to sue Ruto over 82 coup remarks. All right. And tractors roar in farms at the sound of rains. Speaking of rains, the death toll in Malawi right now is 300 and hundreds are missing as Malawians are complaining about the slow response of relief workers and government in this. It's easily the most tragic that Malawi has suffered, especially when it comes to rains. Even what we saw many years ago that happened in Angola, where we saw a woman giving birth in a tree. Remember this story? Because of the floods, they're saying that the death toll had not reached what we're seeing in Malawi so far. Loyalists top Ruto's bloated CAS lineup. That's on the Daily Nation. What austerity? President Ruto added another burden to the taxpayers by increasing the number of nominees for the position of Chief Administrative Secretary, creating the largest executive in recent history. So we'll look at that as well. Raila says he will not be intimidated to call off protests. It would appear that somebody's asking him to do that. He says it's not happening. Salary woes hit universities as Treasury withholds cash is on the back page of the Nation. Voila.
There is all. All right. The front page of the Business Daily. First of all, the big headline. Gold price at Kenya's stock market hits historic highs. Did you know that you can trade in gold at the NSE? Did you know that, City?
I now know.
Gold exchange traded funds, that's ETFs, at Kenya's stock market yesterday rose to the highest level since listing in 2017, offering investors access to the global yellow market in local currency. Investors at the NSE can buy the listed 400,000 gold bullion debentures, each equivalent to 0.01 of an ounce of gold. 0.01 of an ounce. Ounce nedo.
Ounce?
Huh? How big is an ounce?
I'll tell you in a minute.
How heavy is an ounce?
And how does it relate to a kilometer?
How do you announce it?
Wow.
0.01 of an ounce of gold. Okay.
0.01 ounce of gold.
Okay, so an ounce is 28 grams.
Okay.
Okay, so
0.01 grams.
Is 0.28.
28 grams.
0.28 grams.
It's almost microscopic.
It is. And it goes for how much you're saying?
Well, no, there are 400,000 gold bullion debentures.
Oh, okay.
Each of those 400,000 is equivalent to 0.28 grams, like you've said.
Jeez Louise.
The price of the new gold ETF rose to 2,606. So 0.028 of those things that you've said is worth 2,000 bob.
Okay.
And is this pegged to the dollar in any way? Because not 2,000.
We have gone away from the dollar. We are dealing with gold.
We're dealing with gold
standard.
Gold shilling, yes.
It's a gold standard. It rose to 2,606 at the close of trading yesterday, which is up 2,572 on Wednesday and 2,165 at the start of the year, after the premium metal rose highest since early February. The rise in gold prices follows troubles at Swiss lender Credit Suisse amid renewed stories. So there are things that are happening. But it's basically looking at all those things that are happening globally. On the NSE, the ETF price is determined by the global gold prices and dollar rate, with the strengthening of the US currency having the effect of increasing the metal's price at the Nairobi bourse. Okay? So dollar ikipanda juu, gold inapanda juu, lakini ounce haipandi.
But you know the strange thing though,
Inabaki.
this gold conversation interesting. You know, for the longest time before we had this new global financial system, the gold standard you speak of, the value of whatever currency you had was pegged to the amount of gold you had in reserve.
Yes.
Okay. Consider rare metal. Now, somewhere along the line, we got rid of that one. Then the dollar took over.
Went to the petrodollar story.
Yes, went to the dollar story.
A deal was struck in Saudi Arabia.
Yes, and now where are we?
Dollar.
Free fall.
Now we are all over the place. Higher. The other headline in the Business Daily: EABL and Diageo directors face 39 billion shilling fine.
Read that again, please.
Wait.
Please.
Directors of East African Breweries Limited, EABL, and its parent company Diageo face multi-billion shilling fines after being accused of disobeying a Supreme Court order on a beer supply contract. The brewer's former supplier, Beer Tosha Distributors Limited, wants the directors to be fined an equivalent of 20% of EABL sales, or 39 billion shillings, for refusing to give it back beer distributorship routes in parts of Nairobi, Machakos, and Kajiado. The Supreme Court last month ordered EABL to reinstate Beer Tosha on the contested routes following a suit that has dragged in court since 2016. Biatosha told the Supreme Court that EABL has sponsored the present distributors to sue at the High Court in a bid to derail implementation of the Apex Court's order. So they're saying, we went to this all the way to the Supreme Court. Supreme Court said, EABL, patia wa jamaa, your route. Now, there's another distributor who's gone to the High Court. Now, those Biatosha people are saying, look, if they don't obey the court order, let them give us a percentage of the sales, 20% to be precise. Come to 39 billion shillings.
Wow. Court has said they pay.
No. That's what they're asking.
Hey, that one, my friend, takes a bit of time. 9 billion.
That's what they're asking.
Yes.
They're saying, these guys who are going to the High Court, they're derailing us. And we believe that EABL directors are behind those guys going to the High Court to derail this story. We've been in this court since 2016. We've just come to the end, and then somebody else comes up. What is this? No, we refuse. Okay, let's take a headlines quick before Sitika tells us about the star. Taxpayers' burden of keeping Kenya Kwanza CSs in office, that's one. Kenya Mortgage Refinance Company grows cheap home loans fourfold to 6.8 billion shillings, and Cooperative Bank raises dividend by 50% on a surge of profits.
What's the dollar at today?
Dollar? Jana ilikuwa 150.
144 hivi.
200. 200.
Watch and observe.
Dollar, petrol.
200.
Petrol has overtaken dollar. Petrol
dollar
now
is coming.
Yes, petrol is at what, 190?
Yeah.
Okay. $200 is following.
We're going to 200.
We're going to 200, neck to neck. At 200 is when now some sobriety will kick in, and then we'll be able to pause and say, surely, how did we get here?
Sheesh.
And then a semblance of an honest discussion will take place. Because I am not convinced that this story of the dollar shortage is quite what we are hearing. There's always more to this story than you know.
There's something else happening.
There's always something else. And those who know, those who don't know, again?
Don't know.
Yes. Now,
and
something interesting. No, they actually don't. Tragedy, isn't it? Tragedy.
Something else.
Something tragic happened this morning. I didn't find the star.
Oh, no. That was it.
Yeah, of course.
Oh, my goodness.
You've taken us...
Oh my word.
It's called suspense.
Yeah, clearly.
This is really tragic.
It's a statistics device that works wonders. However, I have the East African.
Okay,
for
sure,
next
why
week.
not? For the one for this week.
The week hasn't ended yet, Eric. I mean, it's all good and well to look into the future, but the week hasn't come to an end yet.
Okay, so
oh, ye futuristic person. Well, beyond Southern Sudan being on edge, and
Should I have things? I'm still there.
Yeah, and migrant UK minister set to visit Rwanda, and UN flagging the Congo refugee disaster. I don't know.
Let's just fly. Emirates.
Yes.
If you want to leave city down here and go up there and have more peace of mind and calmness to your day, where they'll actually have the star.
Or they'll be close to the star.
Close to the stars. Fly Emirates. Fly better. Fly Emirates. Good morning. It's 24/7. Let's take a look at traffic.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
All right, so Friday morning didn't start off too badly. We're looking at some traffic on the Thika Superhighway getting into town. Outer Ring is looking pretty good, at least for now. North Airport Road going out towards the Eastern Bypass. Now is the time to get on the Eastern Bypass if you're going somewhere, because it might clog up later, and right now it's free and clear. Into the CBD is probably we'll see most of the action. Uhuru Highway going out towards the roundabout at Haile Selassie, not looking too bad right about now. Looks like Friday will not be too much of a pain point in terms of traffic. Okay, let's talk in a short while. Let us know what's happening in your neck of the woods. SpiceFM KE on Twitter.
Are you ready? Okay.
Spice FM. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4.
Government is one of the things he's purported to have said during campaign period. However, it would see that this list of 50 new CASs will balloon the cabinet a lot more. The list comprises mainly politicians who lost in the general election last year, and of course many have said that Ruto is on a reward spree with these latest appointments and suggestions to be able to award those who were loyalists. He yesterday completed the creation of what is the most bloated executive in Kenya's recent history, which is expected to gobble up 13.2 billion shillings in 5 years, even as intrigues surrounding the appointment of 50 chief administrative secretaries emerged yesterday. It was learned that the State House had initially asked the PSC to create 23 CS posts, which would now have risen to 50, signaling competing political interests that saw the shortlist at one point reopened to accommodate more applicants. In way of this letter, the Commission is requested to declare 23 vacancies in the office of the CASs. I'm just going to,
This was the request from the President.
This was the request from the head of public service, Joseph Kenya, in a letter on the 11th of October. The 50 CASs whom President Ruto wants to act as the liaison between the ministries and Parliament, as well as counties, will cost, wait for it, 460 million shillings annually in salaries, 2.3 billion in 5 years. The PSC has classified CAS as under the job group CSG3, which is equivalent to job group V, making them entitled to a monthly salary of, wait for it, 765,188 Kenya shillings.
Salary.
Yes, please.
Perks?
Not yet. The CAS, like the principal secretary, is also entitled to a 35 million shilling mortgage and a 10 million shilling car grant.
Thank you.
8 million for PSs, by the way. Both of which will cost the taxpayer 2.25 billion in the one-off payments after 5 years. Over 5 years, sorry. The taxpayers will additionally provide 10 million shillings and 3 million shillings inpatient and outpatient medical cover for each CAS. For cabinet secretaries, taxpayers fork out 924,000 shillings per month in salaries, 40 million shilling mortgages, 10 million shilling car loan, and 17.18 million in gratuity once they are out of office. In all, over the course of 5 years, taxpayers will pay 5,856 million shillings for salaries, 4,451 million in mortgages, 1,128 million in car loans, and 1,815 million in gratuity for CSs, PSs, and CASs.
Pesa kidogo mnalia.
Imwaka.
Pesa kidogo to you. That only that. What?
Please, let me just tell you one more thing while we're still wallowing in those waters.
Okay.
It is being said that the president also in these things that he seems to be doing wrong, he missed the 2/3 gender rule in the CAS list with only 14 of the 50 posts going to women.
Kwisha.
So, problems.
Kwisha.
He has 22 CSs.
Guy.
Just many things. Only 14 out of 50. It should have at least been 20.
He ignored even his own gender advisor. Guy. Remember Harry Chigai was here and she said, In fact, what we have done is we've advised the president now
On the
this on the
appointment of
CAS. At least we will meet the threshold.
And remember,
there are how many?
14 out of 50. And remember, she
City
was
only
put there
percentage gap.
specifically. Percentage? It's not even a third.
My brain has refused.
It's not even a third.
No, my brain has actually refused. These things I normally do chap. My brain has refused completely.
Yeah. Quisha.
It's just slightly more than 10%.
Quisha.
Because 10% is 20.
So,
No, it's
actually,
more, it's
a third
20.
would be 16. 1/3 is 16. It's not even a third of the appointments that have gone to women.
This is 25%.
Yeah, it's about 25%. All right. So,
Higher. Hivo. So no women. They are 50.
many
He
money.
had asked for 23.
They are now 50.
They are
He
now
has,
50.
Awarded his people. The people who are loyal to him, they've all gotten.
Nobody
In fact, another people that
Not
he has
all.
ignored.
I'm sure there are others who have not gotten.
Of course there are. But also the cry for the younger population to be included. Young professionals who can actually serve in this capacity also largely have been ignored.
It would be interesting to know out of the 50, how many below 35
It
people.
would be very interesting.
How
Looking
many?
at this picture here.
Look at the picture.
This
Can
guy-
I tell you the people in the
Those
picture?
ones you're
These
seeing. in
guys
the
are
picture,
really long in the
No, you see,
They can be 35.
the editors took the ones that they know. So maybe there's a 35 so who does. So those photos are like 6.
I live in
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14,
18.
15.
And the standard
18.
18. But, folks, all is not lost.
Of course, never. It's
Never.
never.
All is not lost. Because if we look at the tabulation by the standard, CSs, the numbers that we have are 24. Is that not so?
That is so.
Okay. Now, PSs, look at this. Generous thought. Every CS has 2 PSs. Because
49.
Baba, this thing is 51.
PSs.
Yes, 51. Yani, just in case there's a PS who's unwell, okay? There are 2 who can just replace you. So it's 51, okay? Now, when it comes to CAS, same thing.
50.
For every
PS.
there is a CS.
CS.
Okay? So this one is not a bad thing.
So basically, yeah, if you look at it that way, if the whole idea is for the CAS to help the minister in a state department, then you need to have a CAS for every state department.
This thing is not as
It's
bad
logical.
as it looks. Yes.
It follows logic.
The problem is that those huge figures that you read, the optics are the ones which are a bit disturbing to the mind.
Doesn't sound really good right about now.
Now, right about now, it's the sort of thing you don't really particularly want to hear. But then, in terms of service delivery, you could argue that we are set for good. We cannot then argue that we do not have sufficient personnel to be able to carry out the mandate.
No, you
You could
can't.
also argue that, this was the last run at the rodeo that was, available for awarding to happen.
Bad
For
though.
those who are loyal to
Now boards.
the campaign. Or boards bad.
No, board's bad though. Board's bad though. Board's bad
Directorship
though.
here and there, departments, still possible.
Yeah. Yeah. Digger Commission, all these other commissions that we
Not
have.
an equal chance.
No, plenty.
Even
plenty.
today, if you decide to defect,
As you've seen so far,
Keep to.
they are making board appointments and revoking everybody else.
Yeah.
So,
It's possible. Some
how many boards do
Okay,
you
what
have?
about ambassadors?
And those ones.
And what about the staff that occupy our embassies? Rewarding. Man, these are early days yet. Early days yet. Okay?
Let's discuss that at 7. In
Ciao.
greater detail, right? In greater detail. I have some good news. I like these guys. The Kenya Mortgage Refinancing Company has recorded a 4-fold jump in its loan book to 6.8 billion shillings in the year to December last year, pointing to the corporation's increased capacity to finance cheap homes after locking in additional capital. That was a jump of 1.3 billion shillings at the end of 2021, and they've seen KMRC's asset size expand. When you see that, it means that they actually have the capacity to finance people to purchase homes. And remember what they do. If you earn 150,000 shillings and below, and you identify a home, you can go to your bank and to your circle, and you can take a home loan at below 10%. Banks are giving you home loans at above 10%. Actually, above 13%.
Actually, above
14.
Yes.
Now imagine if this KMRC thing succeeds and more people are able to afford to get loans at 8%, 9%. This is a very, very good thing.
I personally would like to scrutinize that article a little more. I love figures, but I like substance to follow the figures.
Okay.
These people who have been lent, not necessarily to divulge confidential information, how widespread is it?
Yes.
How many counties? Just that.
Yes.
Okay. How many sub-counties? Which regions? You know, that sort of thing.
Yes.
So that we understand that.
Where are the homes?
Yes.
Where are the homeowners?
Yes.
And what are they doing? Are these homeowners owner-occupier?
Yeah, or
are they...
Yes. And so are people across the country, because this is supposed to be a national program, how are people across whatever divide you want to talk of in the country, how are they benefiting from this? Because from what we were told by KMRC themselves, they have the money.
Yeah.
Yes. Not anybody else, themselves.
Selves.
Yes.
Yeah. Yep. Haya.
Tell us a story, City.
City yako na nini? Na business day. Mpatia Nairobian.
No, I have Nairobian.
Tusomee sasa.
I have Nairobian. You know, the Nairobian has some really, really lively stories.
Okay? I like your choice of word.
But they are lively. The stories jump at you. And sometimes what one misses is this story that we spoke about. We mentioned in passing. This gentleman who passed away, okay? The gentleman who is referred to, remember the one whose name I had difficulty, Mugithi DJ.
That was the host.
That was the host.
DJ
Okay.
Facto.
Yes, and then there's a young man who passed away.
Yeah.
You see, there is a trend that we keep speaking of, and it is growing. But what is growing in equal measure is the numbness with which we treat these matters. It is young people dying. It is young people killing each other. If you read these stories, young people committing atrocities, young people. Now, if alarm bells aren't ringing, then they should. What is it that we are seeing? This trend and this trajectory, what really are we seeing? What is this thing about having fun? What is this thing about going for a party and having a good time that ends up in death? What is it? What happens?
Yeah.
Or what are the circumstances wrapped around you as individuals before you go to this party that would then, end up in such a tragic manner?
Yes. And Milimani, this area of Milimani, Kilimani, many of these stories seem to emanate from that particular place. Now, I have to ring the alarm bells because the mental health story did not end with the task force that gave their report to the immediate former president. It didn't end there.
Yeah.
That was supposed to be the start. And we are supposed to understand how it is that the Ministry of Health is dealing with these things. Okay? We were talking about COVID on a daily basis. We should start talking about mental health issues on a daily basis. Just the clock, so that people understand. This is what happened. It happened in this place, and this number of people have died.
You're right.
So that there's a tallying on a daily basis. Something crazy happens, chalk it to mental health, please. Now, the Nairobian has highlighted this story very, very well. But beyond highlighting it and beyond us reading it, what else is happening? Because if nothing is done, tomorrow we're going to read another story, the day after another story, and next week there'll be another story.
Yeah.
And this story is about people, it's about lives.
Yep.
I am done.
There's a story that you've been telling us, and I think maybe you can give us the update.
Please.
It's on page 12 of the Standard.
Yes.
Body of the man in Sako attack had 9 bullet wounds, according to...
Eric, you are a mind reader. You are a mind... How did you know that's what I want to talk about?
Yeah, I know you.
You know me?
Yes.
I think you do. You do.
Tell us.
Statement of fact. We were talking about some gentlemen who decided to enact a haste. They stole money. 1.3 million was recovered. Okay? The issue of how much was stolen, we left that on the side. We did not ask that question. We left it. We just talked about what was recovered.
Yes.
What now made the debate and the discussion even more, should we say, what highlighted it more? Pictures that were presented. On the one hand, pictures of these two gentlemen sitting, surrounded by police, and then another of their bodies, these two gentlemen having died.
Yes.
And the story was some had escaped. The story didn't end there. There was also the story of, some escaped into the forest, meaning it got convoluted.
Yes.
When we had now officials from the police service come to explain it, that muddied the waters even more. Yeah, meaning it was explained, you said we were okay before you started explaining it. Because this one now, it's confusing us further. On page 12 now, we are told, body of man in Sako attack had 9 bullet wounds, report says. So forget just dying. 9. Now, how? Pathology says arrangements have been made for further examination on Thursday. But let me just read. The body of a man involved in the raid at the United Sako branch in Mununga Market in Muranga County had 9 bullet wounds. The initial autopsy report revealed that the body of Joseph Kamau Kangede, 30, that's a young person, had 3 bullet wound exits. The autopsy conducted at the Muranga County mortuary by pathologist Kamodo Atanga showed Kamau's body had 6 bullets at the back and 3 in the chest, suspected to be lodged inside. 3 at the back, 6 and 3 in the chest. So, shot in the chest, the guy fell down, another 6.
Wow.
If this, I am not a pathologist, I am not a security expert, but if this is not an execution, what is it?
Yeah.
Did you see that video clip of the county commissioner trying to explain this matter? There was a clip of the county commissioner saying, when they were interrogated, these 2 young men, they said about, where more of the money had been hidden, somewhere in the forest. So the police told them, let's go, you show us where the money is. And as they were escorting the suspects into the forest, some other people emerged and started shooting fiercely
so there was
at the police officers.
Yeah.
So there was a gunfight with unknown people who have just suddenly emerged. Okay? Now, in that whole confusion, as they were shooting at the people who were shooting at them, the police ended up shooting these two gentlemen. And that is how they died. That's how they died. Now, you can imagine, there's no way, these guys are seated and they're handcuffed in the photo that had been shown earlier.
Yeah. It's even shown today,
handcuffed. Yes. Obviously, when they are walking into the forest, they are still handcuffed. So these people were not posing any danger to the police officers. No. But they're the ones who end up dead. The ones who are shooting at the police, none of them is shot.
And how did they relieve themselves of the handcuffs?
They didn't. They're the ones who end up dead.
Exactly. So
but what is if you want to understand this story and the intrigues therein, one of these gentlemen, who was shot, apparently had been dismissed from the National Police Service last year when he joined in 2017. And he had been sacked because, according to Imblu, he had absconded duty. Now, if this gentleman was a former police officer, and given the stories that we keep hearing of people within the police service being involved in some of these nefarious activities, what then one is led to imagine is that perhaps this person knew more than people, those who arrested him wanted him to reveal. Because if he was a police officer, he knows how, 2017, we're now in 2023, he knows how the police service works, doesn't he not? And he probably has friends in the police service, does he not?
Probably does.
So exactly. So such a person, you take him to court, what is he likely to do? Say, I was not alone.
He's going to sing like a canary, my friend.
Yeah. How do you switch off a radio? You switch it off.
You switch it off.
Yes, then it stops.
It stops singing. And in this case, unfortunately,
switching off does not necessarily mean that you go to the switch and turn it off.
You can yonga the thing, the wire.
You can hammer the thing.
You can clobber.
Throw it out the window.
Dip it in water.
To smithereens.
Yes.
So,
So, this plot, as they say, thickens. And then they even say further that when this story is being told, now reporting with hindsight, that a month prior, one of the officers had actually lost an AK-47. It was snatched to him while he was on patrol. The explanations that one hears after the event when something tragic of this nature has occurred by people who purport to speak on behalf of the police service do not do the police service any service. Because it's an explanation that is fraught with inconsistencies to the point where you wonder, why did you not just keep quiet? There may be a simple explanation, but it then gets so convoluted.
Just
Just keep quiet from the beginning.
We're not even sure what we're hearing.
Yeah,
Yes.
you just put the egg on your face. Now you've cooked it, you've fried it. It's just terrible. You should have just shut up from the beginning.
Wachana. Kenya Railways has regained control of SGR operations from the Chinese. Can you imagine?
What does that mean now?
The government has regained control of most operations of the SGR from the Chinese Africa Star Railway Operation Company.
Is that a fact, or is someone is saying that has happened?
Kenya Railways Corporation Managing Director Philip Mainga said efforts to regain the remaining 10% of the SGR are in top gear, and they hope to have done this by the next financial year. So the boss of Kenya Railways, amesema 90% of operations we have taken over now. Kenya Railways is the one that's running this thing.
I don't believe
the
a
next
word.
10%, we're going to do it. Remember, this man was here 2 years ago and
Yes,
he said
he was.
they were going to do it.
I do not believe a word.
With the chairman.
Higher.
Hold on. He spoke before the Public Investment Committee of Parliament on Commercial Affairs and Energy. And he revealed that most of the revenue, that's 90% of the revenue from SGR comes from cargo, while the rest is from passengers. 2.3 million passengers every year. Now, Opio Wandai, who is the MP for Ugunja, who's a member of this committee and who's also the minority leader of the National Assembly, said there were attempts to make the contract public, but they never really explained much. This committee needs to be served with the original SGR contracts for us to scrutinize it. The MD said, Mheshimiwa, I want to say humbly, I am not in possession of this contract. Therefore, I cannot really promise to give it.
What on earth is Opio and I talking about?
She wants a contract.
It must be made public.
Look, that's a separate story completely. Completely. I mean...
Okay.
How is the story of the contract completely separate from the operations of the contract?
Let me explain to you why I'm telling you that it is a
You'll
separate
tell
story.
us. Let's do the news.
Yes.
Good morning. It's 7 a.m.
Spice up your life.
Good morning, this is the Newswire. I'm Leah Obaga. President William Ruto's chief administrative secretaries could cost the taxpayers about 2 billion shillings on salaries alone for the administration's first term. This is if all 50 nominees the president has forwarded to Parliament are approved and serve from April 2023 to August 2027. According to the Salaries and Remuneration Commission, the monthly salary for one CAS is 765,188 Kenya shillings, which means monthly salary for all the 50 nominees will be 38,259,400. The Kenya Kwanza administration has nearly doubled the CAS lots from the previous 29. The financial implication will be higher considering every CAS is also entitled to a one-off mortgage payment of 35 million shillings and a 10 million shillings car grant. The taxpayers will additionally provide 10 million shillings and 3 million shillings for inpatient and outpatient medical cover for a CAS. It's also important to realize that because the number of CASs have gone up to 50, it means they'll need more officers to cater for them. Police officers and KDF have started bombing gorges in North Rift in an effort to destroy the hideouts of bandits. Residents of Lamia in Baringo County and Kaptanon in Laikipia say they've had bomb blasts in the mountains, which were said to be dangerous places where livestock thieves have been hiding, while military planes are seen patrolling the area. The attack began on the Tandali Baringo Hills. KDF officers targeting them, especially after the deadline for surrendering weapons was completed. Residents of those areas also say that although the explosions scare them, they believe that it's the beginning of facing this chronic problem.
Tumeona kilio na tukaona ntika hako huko. Hatujui nini naendelea. Hatuwezi kusema amefanya nini huko. Tumeona tu kazi imefanyika huko na hatuwezi kujua ni serikali ama ni nani.
Ndio tulianza kusikia migurumo ikilia huko, lakini haikuwa karibu, ilikuwa bari. Halafu pia kulikuwa na ndege zilikuwa zinapitia juu. Hata kabi kubwa ijeko hapa hivi. Ndio wale watu hawezi kuja upande gani? Upande huu kuja kubeba mali yetu.
Azimio party leaders have called on Kenyans to come out in large numbers on Monday and protest against the high cost of living, led by Minority Leader Opiyo Wandayi. They've told their supporters to use the opportunity to air out their grievances. However, UDA, led by Majority Leader Kimani Ichung'wah, have called on Kenyans and particularly the youth to keep off the Azimio demonstrations planned for Monday, saying they are only meant to benefit opposition leader Raila Odinga.
Our decision, therefore, to march on Nairobi on Monday is born out of necessity. We fully support it, and we appeal to all Kenyans to come out peaceably and unarmed.
On Monday, we converge in Nairobi for a special general meeting to tell Mr. Ruto and Mr. Rigathi that Kenya belongs to us all, regardless of how or whether we voted and contributed to UDA campaign kitty.
Unaambiwa kwamba baada ya mimi kuwekelea Biblia chini, bei ya unga itashuka. Baada ya wakulima kuvuna zao lao lile ambalo waliwapa mbolea wakati walikuja, hati bei ya unga itashuka. Haikushuka.
And we want to encourage the president and all security agencies to spare no effort or no energy to protect lives, protect people's property in Nairobi and outside Nairobi in other cities.
The weeks-long stalemate on the Senate leadership has come to an end after Speaker Amason Kingi upheld the leadership changes in the minority leadership. Kingi has acknowledged the changes that involve Narok Senator Ledama Olekina now replacing Fatuma Dulo as the minority whip, while Edwin Sifuna takes over as the deputy minority whip. The decision came after Nyamira Senator Okongo Mugeni presented a letter from the political party's dispute tribunal giving the Speaker the green light to communicate the new minority whip of the Senate. And in the international scene, the death toll from Tropical Storm Freddy in Malawi has jumped from 225 to 326. Most people have died in mudslides and floods caused by the storm that first hit Mozambique on Sunday. This event comes as the president has declared 4 days of mourning. That's the News Wire. I'm Leah Obaga.
SpiceFM, Nakuru.
Some rain this morning, and it's going to slow things down considerably. Heavy traffic on the Thika Superhighway inbound, and we're looking at the same thing on Kiambu Road. Uhuru Highway is pretty busy as you get towards the Haile Selassie Junction, getting into the CBD and then out towards Westlands. Speaking of which, we have some traffic that's starting on Wayaki Way. James Gashiro still looks pretty good, at least for now. Gitanga is busy. It's coming off a busy Ngong Road, and Naivasha Road also boiling up as you're getting into the city. Southern Bypass looking pretty good, as is the Eastern Bypass. Outer Ring, not too much in terms of traffic, so it's not too bad. We'll probably see more action getting closer to traffic hour. Where are you? Is your Friday starting off right? Tell us about where you might be stuck this morning. Let's look outside of the city into Kiambu County, where we've seen, unfortunately, an accident has occurred at the Gilgil Nyahururu flyover. At the pass, there's a pass, right? There's a trailer that's stuck there. So there's heavy traffic because everybody who's trying to get past the trailer cannot, because the trailer is stuck at the underpass. So that's going to be a bit of a mess this morning. SpiceFM KE on Twitter, talk to us there and try to keep things moving.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Oko, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latin, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is The Situation Room, the only way
7
to
minutes
start
after
your
7 in the
day.
morning, and how you doing? Welcome to Kenya's biggest conversation, The Situation Room. If you're just joining us, happy Friday. It's the 17th day of March, 2023.
Happy birthday, CT.
Keep trying.
Keep trying.
Mind you.
Keep trying. You know, someone must be rewarded for the effort.
For the effort.
So that the thank you.
We'll keep trying.
So the thank you is the
Every
reward.
day until you say thank you.
Well, I've started saying thank you now. Thank
As
you.
long as it's 3 months before 17th of June.
Or thereabouts.
Hey, we are saying this because C.T. Muga has been giving us Proverbs this week from a book that was first published on the 17th of June, 1950. What? 58.
By William Heinemann Publishing House, the UK.
The author of this book is
Chinua Achebe.
And the book's title?
Things Fall Apart.
Okay. And the importance of this date is 3 months after you were born.
Precisely so.
Okay.
And of course, this book.
So 3 months before June is?
March.
Yes, it is. Counting 60 languages. 60.
Trying to get off this thing.
60 languages. It was translated into 60 languages.
It has been translated.
Since it was first published
yes.
on the 17th of June.
3 months
1958.
after one CD
3
Muga
months
had been
after you were born.
By the time you were already chewing yam and licking palm oil.
And insulting people.
What's the proverb for today?
Yes, the cognitive view. When the moon is shining, not moonshine, the drink, the moon itself is shining, the cripple is hungry for a walk.
Yeah.
When the moon is shining, the cripple is hungry for a walk.
Have you experienced the village setting when the moon is out in all its glory?
I have.
It's a fantastic thing.
It is something.
Beautiful to
it
behold.
is something else. The thing about rural areas, right now that has changed somewhat. There was no electricity, so when it's dark, believe me, it is pitch dark. It is
even the person sitting next to you in the village. You're not quite sure.
Dark. So when the moon shines, there's this almost surreal feeling you have. I remember as little children would actually go out to play.
Yes.
Simply because the moon was shining.
And my grandfather, I remember they would now come out and tell stories by the moonlight until a famous program in Nigeria then was born called Tales by Moonlight. Very interesting.
The moon and its glory are appreciated most when there's no competing light source. Yes. I remember once seeing, you know how it is, there are these movements of the planets and all the other elements within our solar system. Like early in the morning, when the moon seems to, if you live at the coast, it's like it's emerging from the waters.
From the water.
Yes. And you observe this orange orb. And usually it's huge.
Yeah.
It's actually disturbing because it's for the first time when you see it, you wonder, what on earth am I seeing? And if you have a fertile imagination and you've been reading some of these science fiction stories about this and the other, it really blows your mind. But even more blowing of the mind is when you see a similar orb setting in the distance coming from behind a hill, and it's huge and it's orange, and you wonder, what on earth is visiting the planet Earth? And it's just the moon. It is a wonderful thing.
It is a wonderful thing.
Yes.
Why this particular proverb? I'm trying to understand it.
Let's take it this way. A cripple, we are talking about somebody who has an impairment of movement, and by usually a problem that was brought most probably by polio at a young age and cannot walk without assistance, what we now call an aid, a walking aid. Now, when the moon shines, things that, well, it doesn't often happen. Every once in a while you have a full moon and it actually shines and it brings light. And I'm thinking of a village setting where it is usually dark at night, and the joy with which people greet the full moon, children running and playing. Somebody who is not able to walk, on that particular day, they also want to walk and run and jump and play with everybody who's playing. I'm thinking of this from a child's perspective.
Yeah.
Because you want to join the merrymaking and you want to do what the other children are doing.
Yeah.
Yes.
And also realizing that the new moon came with many things.
Yes.
In terms of time and the calendar. So, new birth.
It brought about, Eric, the question you're asking can best be responded to by saying it brought about hope. Something new.
Something pure.
Yes, and if the hope was there, the hope was renewed. Yes. That's why I chose this particular poem. Proverb.
Okay, the big headlines in the papers today. No lean government as 50 set to join cabinet. The president has presented 50 names to parliament for consideration of the position of chief administrative secretary, whom, if approved, will push the number of senior government officials to 125. No? Yeah. So, and then on the side here, they compare the William Ruto and the Uhuru Kenyatta cabinets. What do you mean the William Ruto and the Uhuru Kenyatta cabinets? Is there a difference? So it was an Uhuru Ruto cabinet. Okay, so we're talking about the William Ruto Rigathi Gachagua versus the Uhuru Kenyatta William Ruto.
Exactly.
Okay. So, the number of CSs, Uhuru had 20, Ruto has 24. Principal secretaries, Uhuru had 44, Ruto has 51. Chief administrative secretaries, Uhuru had 29, Ruto is proposing to have 50. What's the beef? What are they saying in those stories?
You're saying, what's the problem?
Yeah, precisely.
The problem is the burden of the burden on the taxpayer in terms of what it means. So there are many things that have been said here. On one hand, you have that folks are saying, well, look at this. It is clear. I mean, you have former governors who are now CASs. You have former nominated senators who are now CASs. You have former MPs who, many would say have failed in their attempt or in their bid to come back into government or into parliament. And they also happen to have been loyalists of and still are loyalists of President William Ruto during his campaign, and he saw no better opportunity to reward them than this, where he's now nominating for their appointments as CASs, right? So that's one side of the argument where, are you going to use government as a playing field where you say, all right, you did this for me, you scored a goal, here's your trophy. Your trophy now is represented in the office of the CAS, okay? So there's one side, and you can have that argument until the cows come home. There's the other side then about the heavy burden then that this places on the taxpayer, because these CASs are not just flower girls in government for them to have an opportunity to sit around and look pretty.
Oh no, they're not.
There is an office
one would hope.
One would hope that this is not what they're going to do. All right. Now, in that hope being brought to life, these are going to be office holders. Their offices will need to be facilitated. They will have drivers. They will have office space. They will have budgets. They will report to somebody, and then there are the perks that come along with them sitting in these offices. Now, people are saying, is it absolutely necessary to have this number of people in these positions for this work? So let's look at the numbers in terms of what it means. Okay. Gross monthly salary for a chief administrative officer is 765,188 shillings. Tick. Now, if you look at that over a 5-year period, it is 2,295,564. I'm sorry, 2,295,564,000. All right.
Could you repeat that again, please?
2,295,564,000
over a 5 years.
5-year period.
Okay.
Okay. Now, with all of these numbers that we're looking at, do us the favor and multiply by what? By 50. Okay?
Isn't that total?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying
Oh,
now.
that's the 2 billion is one person will earn 2 billion in 5 years.
No
way.
The 50,
Total cost.
the total cost of 50
of all
of them
50.
is 2 billion. All
Okay.
right. We're also looking at 35 million shillings per CS in a mortgage. One would, of course, this is money that you're going to pay back, but this is one of the perks that you're then able to get a mortgage of 35 million. You will also then have a car loan of 10 million shillings, and then you will also be paid some nice gratuity of 14,323,496. Coco.
And that 14 million, each
It's just-
of the
it's dash
CSs
money.
will get gratuity. Yeah.
It's dash money, as in take.
Okay.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
So this is the question: is it absolutely necessary to have this number of CASs in government today? And was there a widening of the allocation to suit this loyalty program that many are calling? Because if we look at the initial communication that came from Joseph Kenya, it was asking for these positions to be made available in how many? 28. We've seen this number balloon to 22. We saw a shortlist. After the shortlist, we saw, okay, just open the door a little bit and allow some 3 more people on the list. Okay, I'll just open a little bit more to accommodate some more people. Now, is this number absolutely necessary?
Are they needed?
Are they needed in this office? Okay, so let's assume that they are
Okay.
needed. Do you need 50 of them? Because what does it do then to your recurrent expenditure on a monthly basis? And where is this money going to come from? Right? We are not going to do anything that is going to require excessive burden or responsibility on the taxpayer. And then, boom, here we are.
Do we focus so much on the small issues and we
Like
forget
money?
the bigger picture? Yeah.
Okay.
Like, the bigger picture here is service delivery.
Okay.
Okay, so let's follow the journey of the president through the head of public service, writes to the Public Service Commission. Tells the Public Service Commission, you know what? After I've reorganized my government, I have created positions of cabinet secretary. I have created state departments. I have realized that there's some job that needs to be done by a certain officer that I don't see such a position existing in the current setup of government in public service. This is what I'd like people to be doing. And the president writes the kind of things that he'd like to this particular office to do. And he requests the Public Service Commission to consider in their brightest wisdom to create this office after, of course, going to the people. And on the 21st of September last year, the Public Service Commission proposed public participation for the establishment of this office called Chief Administrative Secretary. The President has proposed to establish the Office of Chief Administrative Secretary, which will be offices in the public service under the direction of Cabinet Secretaries. The function of the CAS will entail responding to issues touching on the portfolio assigned to the office, providing liaison with the National Assembly and the Senate, providing liaison with county governments on matters of concurrent mandate and common interest, providing interministerial and sectoral coordination, representing the Cabinet Secretary at any meeting as instructed by the CS, executing any other duties and responsibilities specifically assigned to the office of the Cabinet Secretary in furtherance of the interests of that ministry. This is what they sought to do. Okay? And the Public Service Commission asked for views. The Law Society of Kenya later, when it said, no, you've started advertising for a job that you have not done public, and the court said, this thing has followed due process. Proceed. Bwana Public Service Commission Chairman. They proceeded. Now they asked for people to come and ask for and apply for the job. They interviewed. They presented names to the president. The president has created this. What is the role and the function of this office? The function of this office, like we have said, number one is to respond to issues and questions touching on the portfolio assigned to their office, providing liaison with the National Assembly and the Senate, providing liaison with county governments, providing interministerial and intersectoral coordination, representing the CS in meetings, executing other duties assigned to the CS's office. It's about service provision. Now, focus on the service provision.
Okay.
You have how many CSs do you have again according to this?
20,
we have. They say we have
22
CSs, right? 22 CSs, right? Mm-hmm. So we have 22 positions of cabinet.
Right.
Now, in those 22 positions of cabinet, and then you have 49 state departments, 49, okay, and then there are 2 people who are in the office of the president, blah, 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 blah. All right, so look at the state departments that you have. If a CS has several state departments, right, they need somebody who will handle these jobs.
Okay.
It's about efficient provision of services to Kenyans.
Okay.
So if the CAS is going to deliver and offer service to Kenyans, why is the problem?
Okay.
Does it come at a cost? Yes, it comes at a cost, of course.
Of course it does.
Right? But the bigger picture, are they going to deliver? Are they going to be serving a purpose? For example, responding to Parliament. Parliament has already amended its standing orders. Now, ministers shall be appearing before Parliament, right?
Committees, yes.
And not just Parliament committees, but there's Parliament committees and the plenary of Parliament appearing on the floor of the House on Wednesdays. Now, imagine Musalia Mudavadi, who's coordinating all these things, asks Mithika Linturi, and we saw the other day even Rigathi Gachagua saying, Mithika Linturi is hardly in this country. He's looking for land in Zambia. He's looking for maize in South Africa.
Yeah.
He's looking for fertilizer where? He's looking for, So if Musalia Mudavadi has received communication from the speaker, we need Mithika Linturi to come and answer. Who's going to answer?
See, he was brought back and he went to Eldoret.
Okay. A CS is going to answer. If it's a matter that touches on crop production, the CAS in charge of crop will go and answer.
Okay, so like
if it's a matter touching on livestock development, the CAS for livestock is going to answer.
Okay, like now that Professor Kindiki is in the north.
Now Professor Kindiki is holed up in the north.
Will be called to Parliament to answer questions, but they need him to answer.
Yes.
I understand. Okay.
How many CSs have been assigned to that Ministry of Interior?
I'm going to check.
More than one.
More than one, yes.
So there is
those
Interior and Administration. So if it's matters touching on, remember there are several state departments. We had the PS here for prisons. It's called what? Correctional Services. So you'll have a CAS for correctional services. Because Ms. Mary Modoni, the PS, will not go and answer questions in Parliament.
No,
Parliamentary standing orders do not say a PS or a director shall come.
So long as somebody from the office, we can understand. Okay.
So if Millicent Omanga, for example, is a CAS for correctional services, we don't know which one she's going to be. But if she goes there,
she's been
it's all under Interior. But which state department?
We don't know which state department.
So if she's one who's under for correctional services, she'll be going to answer on correctional services issues.
Okay.
Where is the problem?
Okay. So now that question that you asked, I think that's where the pertinence lies. That will it actually be done? That we will then be able to see the professional delivery of services at the ministerial level, because these positions then now have been reinstituted. Let's look at when we saw CSs come into government in the very first place under the presidency of Uhuru Kenyatta. That we saw in health, we saw in MOFA, the Foreign Affairs Ministry. We saw in planning, etc., etc. Did we see that there was more sufficiency when it came to delivery of services because this position then had been created? Did we?
Yes.
Now, what we are saying is that CAS 2.0 is happening now, and that what we expect to see, at least after 5 years, is that government should be top ranked in terms of how it's delivering services to the people and to the country.
Yes.
There should be no, we didn't because there was. That, okay, let's not be the person who is constantly a Debbie Downer, but then let us say, we put hope in this system and say,
focus on the bigger picture.
Focus on the bigger picture. At the end of 5 years, will government have taken a few trots in the right direction because these positions in their number have been created, and that we can expect no less? You should not come and tell us, the reason why I was not able to do what I did not was because of X. No. You have been put there for that reason. We expect that efficiency, top notch. Proficiency, top notch.
Things move.
Things should move. Kenya should not be where it has been because of this thing. That's what we're saying.
For example, we've just talked about Interior, okay? So how is the Ministry of Interior and National Administration set up? It has 3 state departments, each with a PS. State Department for Internal Security and National Administration. PS is Raymond Omolo, okay? State Department for Correctional Services. PS, Mary Mudhoni. State Department for Immigration and Citizen Services. PS, Ambassador Professor Julius Bitok. Okay? Now, when it comes to the nomination for CASs, this ministry has 3 CASs that have been nominated to join it. The Honorable Samuel Kuntai Tunai, former governor, the Honorable Millicent Nyaboke Omanga, former senator, and Ambassador Mohamud Ali Saleh. So you can imagine that each of these CAS is going to be in charge of each of those state departments.
Yep.
So kama Tunai yako kwa interior na security, Millicent Omanga ako kwa inaitwaje ingine correctional services. Ambassador Mohamud Ali Saleh ako kwa immigration services. Unaona hiyo maneno?
Symbiotic working.
Unaona hiyo maneno? So if Parliament wants questions on matters of interior and coordination, Tunai enda jibu huyo maswali Parliament, because you know Professor Kindiki is busy digging out those people from the caves. Focus on the bigger picture.
That's bigger picture, Sasa. Bigger picture now is when you're saying, okay, fine, these things can actually happen. Nobody wants to hear because don't come and say after 5 years, there was no because that's what we're not going to talk about all these politics. We're going to talk about rewarding your loyalists. We're not going to talk about bloated this thing, menene. We're not going to talk about that there's no
Those
money.
are sideshows. Those are sideshows.
What is being gone for now is efficiency in delivery of government and its services.
And how well you constitute it.
The law-making and oversighting body of government, being Parliament, wants to know what's happening so that if you're not doing your job number 1, they can say, now, organize yourself properly.
Masa, Kanyanga, Nje.
And the reasoning behind all of this is why we're saying, okay, fine. No problem. Sideshows aside, politics, candle, everything, money, don't worry. Who was it? There's money. We'll
move. Let's move.
Because you're saying now, let us move. Nobody should then make noise when, in the eventuality that something has not happened, and they say, you know what, actually, we have given this thing an opportunity, we have seen that it is not working, remove it because it doesn't work.
If the individuals do not work, they will be removed, and
forthwith
better suited individuals will replace them.
Or, the whole thing.
But the role,
the caboose out.
It's not that the role will not have performed. Are we together? Focus on the bigger picture. We're not focusing on sideshows.
Okay.
No. Don't focus on sideshows. Focus on the bigger picture. For example, the other bigger picture here is on the 11th of October 2022. After the Public Service Commission had now conducted the whole shabung called the public participation. It responded to the president and told the president things. Now, the then head of public service, Joseph Kenya, wrote to the chairman of the Public Service Commission, Ambassador Anthony Mushiri, and said, we acknowledge receipt of a letter of this date. It's noted that your letter is in response to our proposal of 19th of September, in which the head of state and government sought the approval of the Public Service Commission to establish the office of the Chief Administrative Secretary within the ranks of the public service. As set out in your letter, we note that the Commission has considered the views of the public, and having thereafter satisfied itself that the conditions set in Section 9 of the Public Service Commission Act have been met, the Commission recommends the establishment of the Office of the Chief Administrative Secretary, graded at Job Group CSG 3. In this regard, it is notified that His Excellency the President has, pursuant to Article 132(4)(a) of the Constitution, established the office of CAS within the public service. Job description, the ones I had read earlier. Okay? Accordingly, Joseph Kenya wrote to the Public Service Commission, and by way of this letter, the Commission is consequently requested to declare vacancies in the office of the Chief Administrative Secretaries and thereafter proceed to commence the recruitment process on a priority basis. We look forward to your earnest consideration of our request to enable His Excellency the President to fully constitute his administration, a prerequisite for the implementation of the transformative agenda for Kenya. Okay? There's something that I skipped there, and I'm going to read it again. Joseph Kenya asked the Public Service Commission to consequently declare 23 vacancies in the office of CAS. 20 how many? 23 vacancies.
Now, I have a question.
Okay.
By the time Joseph Kenya, from his position at Public Commission, right? A Public Service Commission.
As head of Public Service.
Public Service. Now says we need 23 positions. Is this a number he pulled out of a hat? Did he see that these ministries then needed one individual? In his expertise, having worked in public service for so many years, did he feel that this number was representative of the need? Or was it just a number that sounded nice on a Tuesday afternoon? Why did he say initially 23? Why did he initially say 23 positions? Okay. I think you understand my question. Okay.
He said 23? Initially?
Yes.
Okay.
Why?
And
it's not just anybody, a run-of-the-mill guy at the commission. No.
Are there not 23 nominees?
Stop it. Why he didn't say?
Does 50 not include 23?
In the communication, did he say a minimum of 23? Did he say a minimum of 23? There's a reason why the man, in all his knowledge and wisdom and understanding, now came out and said 23. The things that you have now read out to us, based on all of this 1, 2, 3, it now gives leeway for the president to nominate the 23. Abi? So the question then arises, from 23
when did it come from 23 to 50?
Is 27 other positions. It's 27 in number. What is the justification for making it jump to 50? These positions that we're now saying needed to be an extra 27, where did they come from? And are they needed? If the 23 were needed and it was clear, where did these extra 27 come from? And why? Are you understanding my question now? Okay.
Ati what? What are you asking? So you ask again.
You know exactly what I'm asking you. Joseph Kenya asked for 23 CASs. And again, it is not something that he pulled out of a hat. This was well thought out, and they said it was 23 that was needed. This was in October 2022, November, December, January, February. And here we are in March with that number having gone to 50. What is the justification for the extra 27? What communication was there given thereafter to say that actually, you know what, we are now taking back this earlier communication and the number that we actually need is 50? Did we increase in terms of capacity that needed facilitation? What happened? Okay.
You know, this discussion about...
Let's just take a break.
Take a break, and take a deep breath while we're at it.
He's introducing some other tough questions here that I focus on the bigger picture.
Okay. Let me
starting to say, Joseph Kenya had said, you do 23, so why are you doing an extra 27? So what, man?
Let's take the break, Eric. Then we can sort ourselves quietly.
I took like 10 minutes explaining to her that the CAS is for a state department. She's focusing on the CAS for a ministry.
But did these state departments...
There are 23 ministers.
The state
there are
department,
50
when
state
Joseph
departments.
Kenya wrote that letter dated October 11th, 2022, he knew that these ministries were comprised of state departments. Did he not?
Things changed, man. Still,
Sorry?
Yeah.
Yes, and the population keeps increasing every year. So the people who need services keep increasing also.
The point is,
the ministry is not comprised of those state departments on October 11th, 2022, when Joseph Kenya sent that original communication about the nomination of 23 CASs. That is a question.
24 minutes to 8. Fly better. Fly Emirates. Why, City?
Because better means an improvement. Better means something to be looked forward to. Better means something that once you have immersed yourself into, you will not want to look back. Anything you imagine that would afford you the comfort and the peace of mind while traveling long distances, Emirates doesn't promise. Emirates actually gives you those very things that your mind has imagined. And when you go second, when you go business, when you go first class, it goes beyond your imagination.
Bas. Back shortly. We'll open up the phone line 0719-012-600. What's your view on the 50 nominees for position of Chief Administrative Secretary?
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Are you looking for your dream home or the perfect plot of land to build on? Look no further than Digger Real Estate, the e-commerce site for all your real estate needs. From cozy apartments to sprawling estates, we have a wide selection of houses for rent and for sale. And if you're looking to build from scratch, we have prime plots of land available for purchase. Don't settle for anything less than your ideal home. Head to realestate.digger.co.ke today to start your search. Digger Real Estate, where your dream home becomes a reality.
Can you dig it?
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
Nairobi this morning at 18, highs of 26, and we'll see highs of 25 in a sunny Nakuru at 16. It's 16 and partly sunny in Nyeri, highs of 24, and we'll see highs of 23 in a sunny Eldoret at 13. 25 and sunny in Mombasa, highs of 33, and we'll see highs of 32 in Malindi, where it's sunny at 27. 18 and sunny in Kisumu, 16 and sunny in Kakamega, cloudy conditions at 19 in Kampala, and it's sunny at 25 in Dar es Salaam. 12 degrees and sunny conditions in Johannesburg, and we'll see highs of 33 in a mostly clear Lagos at 26. It's 23 and cloudy in Kinshasa. We'll see highs of 31 and lows of 23.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
Okay, so on the Thika Superhighway, we're looking at traffic that's starting from that Royal Junction, coming in then through towards Outer Ring at the junction, and it's heavy. Your service lanes, however, are not looking too bad. There's an option to get into the city quicker. If you're on the main highway, you might want to make an exit to get away from that traffic. All right, we're looking at a little bit of it also coming out of Westlands. The Southern Bypass looking good. Connect to Langata Road and then out towards Ngong Road without having to pass through some of this traffic into the CBD, which, by the way, is not so bad on Uhuru Highway. As you get past the Nyayo Stadium roundabout, out towards the Haile Selassie Junction, you get into the CBD and then out towards Westlands if that is your destination. All right, Eastern Bypass, beyond the nightmare that was there yesterday, free and clear for most parts. Let's look at it in about half an hour. SpiceFM KE on Twitter.
Are you ready? Okay.
Spice FM. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right.
Here is the nominees to the position of Chief Administrative Secretary as communicated from the President to Parliament. So 50 nominated to serve in various ministries. Okay, the big issue in the papers today is the cost. How much is this going to cost? Had the president promised a lean government? Is he executing a lean government? The headlines all over. The Standard headline: no lean government, as 50 to join cabinet. The Nation headline:
Loyalist top Ruto's bloated CAS lineup.
Okay. The Business Daily: taxpayers' burden of keeping Kenya Kwanza CASs in office, These are the headlines.
But is that really the burden that taxpayers have? Is this the conversation really that we ought to have? Because the optics look bad, more so because of the economic situation we have in the country.
Yes.
But it's a conversation that started off in 2016 that led to many extrapolations and led to very many discussions. And the discussion, where it hit the headlines and it stayed for the longest time, was when the immediate former president, during the BBI debate, when some people said, oh, this BBI is going to cost 14 billion. Some said, what do you mean 14 billion? It's only 2 billion. And the president chimed in and said, no, actually, when you think about it, during an interview in a local vernacular radio station, the president then, Uhuru Kenyatta, said, actually, we lose 2 billion Kenya shillings every day to corruption. Okay? Now, that, my friend, was further augmented by a gentleman who was then the chair of the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission at that particular point in time, a gentleman called Philip Kinisu. Kinisu had an interview with Reuters. And according to the information that they garnered, and they were looking at the Auditor General's reports, collating all these things, they said Kenya can lose a third of its budget. 1/3. 30%. And when they did the maths, it came to, if you look at what it was that it lost, it was $6 billion every year. You do the maths, at that time, 660 billion shillings. You do the maths, it comes to actually more. It's 1.833 billion shillings daily. Now, this conversation continued. Now, the Sunday Standard decided they're going to do their own arithmetic. And they looked at the Auditor General report and they looked at everything else around this story. And they came up with a figure of 5 trillion, which was lost to corruption every 5 years. So it's $1 trillion every year. So when you did the math, it comes to a loss of 2.7 billion shillings daily. So now.
So the 3 billion was not so far.
No, it wasn't really far. So if you do the maths and you look at it, and you look at what the CASs will cost, plus their perks, plus their cars, plus everything else, would you then not say that the focus ought to be this 30% of our GDP which we lose to corruption, okay? If we focused on reducing this corruption, would we then not be able to afford this? But the question that is in my mind is, where does the corruption occur? When we say that most corruption takes place in government, when you have 50 more CASs, you have added 50 more points of corruption within the system of government. So this loss that we're talking about is likely to increase. Now, I'm extrapolating because the one unit in this country that has the most money is government. People who make a lot of money do business with government. And the people at the helm of determining how government does this or that or moves this and that are people in government. Now, the debate about the CSs must be had. The debate about their role, that, my friend, when it comes to service delivery, I'm not even arguing about that. Given our population, given what we need, it's not difficult to justify. But with every appointment we have in government comes the never going away discussion of the elephant in the room. Government officials and corruption. Ministers and corruption. PSs and corruption. Now we have CASs in a larger number, and then the story of corruption still doesn't go away. So will they help us in stemming this tide of corruption, or will we see a furtherance of it? We saw the furtherance of it with the devolution. You have governors, and corruption went to a completely new level. Complete, meaning things that you thought you had seen, you saw more and you realized, I had seen nothing. Now, so in my mind, the hemorrhaging and the losses that contribute to these figures that we keep hearing being talked about, are we saying that everything that we are doing is geared towards reducing this? Because if we reduce this hemorrhaging, then we have money. This money we keep saying we don't have. We have it. So when we have it, can we do the things we say we can do? Yes, we can. Can we employ the CSS? Of course we can afford the CSS. In fact, we can afford very many other things. But are we going to look at this and tackle the problem at source? Because what we're seeing here, this discussion about the CASs, that's not a problem.
What do you see as a focus? Do you see the Ruto administration focusing on that, on sealing the loopholes?
No.
Or making sure that there is greater efficiency in government?
I don't see.
Or making sure there is better, prudent management of our financial.
I don't see, but it doesn't mean it's not happening. My seeing is limited. There may be a grander plan, a bigger scheme that I cannot see. But if you're asking what I see, I don't see any of those things happening. And when you have this discussion against the backdrop of something which this government had no control over, it's called drought. Now lots of rain, the government had no control over. Then you are likely to do what everyone else does and point a finger at the government for failing. And yet, some of these things are really not within their control. What is within their control, we can blame them for.
Okay.
But some of the things that are not within their control, not really. And even if we're going to blame them, and when we've blamed them, and then what exactly? And when we said they're at fault, then what exactly? What happens next? Okay, we've blamed them. So we've done it. Then, you see, what the government thinks and what we see it doing may be perhaps diametrically opposed. Now, I don't know what it's thinking. And we deduce their thinking from their action.
And from what they say.
Yes. That's what we do.
Now, what they say is we're going to have a lean government. We are not going to have a bloated government.
We're not going to spend excessively.
We are not going to spend excessively. We are going to, operate within certain confines.
And then, lo and behold.
And then you see this. And so you ask yourself, so does this send that message home?
No, it doesn't.
Does it send a message that, okay, if you have 23 CSs, you need 50 CASs and 50 PSs, and that will make you deliver better on these five agenda items.
It sends the complete opposite of that particular message.
This is it.
When you say let's tighten our belts, let's all focus on, okay, so cost of living is high, we cannot subsidize here, so let's remove this subsidy from this area, let's take a subsidy to this other area. So we are looking forward, let's work on these things. And then you see these kind of nominations and appointments. Does it send that message? I think that's where now the questions come in.
Exactly. And when you say that we're looking to mop up 300 billion shillings, you ask Treasury to be very deliberate about looking for some extra 300 billion shillings here, that there are excesses, that there's wastage, and say, if we're able to mop up some 300 billion, then I think we should be all right.
And then
in a blink of an eye, you then want to go and spend 2.5 billion. On salary. I've not even talked about perks.
Bit of a problem at the end.
Just a little bit of a problem.
Yes.
So if we say that we are going to judge them not just by what they say, but also what they do, then would you fault anybody who judges this action by saying, this is not exactly what you said you were going to do? No. And then the justification for Joseph Kenya coming out and saying 23 positions is what we're angling for here, and we're asking the president to then go ahead and nominate based on this 23. And then not too many months down the line, we see that number has doubled plus some. You're going to have to ask the question, are this sentiment and this expression of sentiments by saying that we want a lean government and one that is efficient in its duty and its facilitation, you're going to have to question and say, then, does this action translate to those words?
Can I add a question to the ones you've already mentioned? Is this government in touch with the reality of what's happening in this country? If we're talking about the optics, and what it is, the role that optics play in the management of a country, in the running of a government, are they attuned? Because what is most absolutely certain with the appointments, as you're saying, it points to a government that is completely insensitive to what these things do. They have an agenda, but the sensitivity as to what's actually happening and the messaging, that I do not think is a consideration that they bear in mind. Not really. Willy-nilly. They have a purpose and they forage and they move ahead with it. That's it. The rest of us can talk and think as we see fit. But
there's also the issue then of gender. All right? And looking at the gender. So let's just look at the names. We've seen we have 50 nominees. Okay. I'm going to just read out the names of the women here, and you can count up to 50 if there are 50. Starting from the bottom of the page, we have Rael Chebichi Lele.
1.
We have Mary Yaine Senator.
2.
Rehema Dida Jaldesa.
3.
Jacqueline Monesi Lukalo.
4.
Bishop Margaret Wanjiru.
5.
Lillian Chepto Tomitom.
6.
Charity Nancy Nanyamakibaba.
7.
Catherine Morogoro.
8.
Beatrice Nkatanyaga.
9.
Millicent Nyaboke Omanga.
10.
Rehema Hassan.
11.
Anne Wanjiku Mwangi.
12.
12 out of
50.
25%. So.
Okay. There's a charter that was signed by candidate William Ruto with the president. It's a women charter. Just like there was a youth charter, there were the 47 county charters.
Health.
Right? An education charter. The one on women was saying, you are going to have 50% of positions in my government. We started with CSs. We didn't see that. Wait, PSs are coming. PSs, wait, CSs are coming. Here they are. Okay.
Wait.
Ambassadors are coming.
Yes.
Okay.
And then if you haven't waited enough, just wait.
Just keep waiting.
There's something that will come. Exactly, because with ambassadors come staff. Every embassy, staff.
They are both positions.
Intention of something is made very clear from the beginning, and you can look at it as an intention to do something, or on the converse, an intention not to do something.
So there are less of a third in all these positions. When it comes to start arguing about CSs, they'll start saying, there are those two advisors, the advisor on gender and the advisor on national security. If you add them, and then you also add the secretary to the cabinet who's a woman, then we get a third.
So it's a dual role. One has the capacity of being a CS. Now they can double up as also being a CS. And one who is PS can also double up when it comes to looking at women numbers as also being CS as well as CS. Surely that arithmetic.
It's a bit hard.
What binary system are we using?
Non-binary.
Anthony in Mombasa, good morning.
Morning, how are you?
Very well, thanks.
Habari ya Nairobi?
Nairobi mvua tu.
Mazee tugawie huku kumekauka blanda.
Tulieni. Yeni nakuja kesho Jumamosi.
Inshallah. Okay. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning, sir.
Anthony, how are you?
I'm fine, thank you. I'm a good supporter, stand supporter of Ruto. But this 50 CS thing, it has really let me down.
Why?
They advertised 23 positions. What they've given out is 50. But as you look at this government, there are so many questions that need answers. And the answers, unfortunately, where they are coming from, they are coming from the wrong people. This is a government that really needs a government spokesman. A person who will be able to be questioned and tell us why is this thing happening? Why are things not going right? But unfortunately, you'll find that Gachagua will come online and will do a press. And instead of making things clear, things become even worse. So we need a communication from the government clearly, especially like now. The first question is, why 50? What are these 50 people going to do exactly?
Anthony.
Yes.
Someone answers you on YouTube. Sayari says, Kenyans are very ungrateful and difficult to understand. We complain about unemployment every day, but now that 50 very able and qualified people have been given a job, we are complaining. What do you want?
No, having a job is not the problem. But what are you going to do there?
See the job?
You have to have... what is it? Exactly. We do not mind if you say the job description of this guy is ABC. You have a ministry that has 3 CS. What is this ministry that needs actually 3 CS? And those are political appointees. It's not that those are the civil servants that actually they have to answer to, for the targets. They have been given targets. They have to achieve them. But these are just political appointees. Immediately they'll be appointed. You'll see them in rallies.
You don't think they're going to work?
Everywhere. We need to see people who actually work. So why 50?
Okay.
Yes. Why don't we have more women?
Okay.
We need a government spokesman to answer these questions so that if he cannot answer, let him go ask the president.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you, Anthony.
Thank you very much.
Many more comments there.
Many. This is interesting. If the CSs deliver, CASs, I think, government could make money. That is the focus of discussion in months. Key is result-based management and accountability. So if, again, looking at your beautiful big picture, if we look at what could actually happen in terms of efficiency, sufficiency of delivery, all of this, if we look at that, it's possible that this money that you're talking about that is lost on a daily basis can actually get it back. Somebody says, while at it, let us pray. Okay. It is unfortunate that we scratch the surface when we're analyzing some of these things and we're not helping. We should be pushing for return on investment in every single position. But that's what we're saying, Matthew. The big picture is what we're saying. That, okay, let's give them the benefit of doubt. Like my good friend Benson says as well. Give them benefit of the doubt. Let 5 years come. Let's insist. As they start, let us not start picking apart at these departments. The CAS for Department X, CAS for this in terms of representation. What have you done? What have you delivered? We need to now become, pointers to those positions over the next 5 years and find out if they're actually doing their job. That's what Matthew says.
Okay. All right.
So we experiment. We give you 5 years.
5 years. We experiment.
But the thing is, it isn't really far-fetched in this sense. Huh? We do elect a certain cadre of people called members of parliament.
And we give them 5 years.
Yes. And this is the job that they're supposed to do. This thing that is being suggested,
yes,
exactly what they're supposed to do. It's not us. We've already delegated that function to them. And they have more details about these things than we do. And they have even powers. They can summon, they can ask, they can do this on a daily basis. Yes, it is true. It can be done. It can be done. But is it going to be done?
That's the question.
Because, you see, I don't want to get stuck in this rut of we have this history of this, because I'll be affirming a situation that I'd rather we moved away from, very, very far away from. Okay? That is ever spiraling and ever continuous way of doing things, impunity, corruption, blah, 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 that story. A rather tiresome but realistic story. If I look at the way people in authority function in this country, unfortunately, much as I can have all the goodwill on the planet, I would not be very hopeful.
Oi.
Good Lord.
Oi. Okay, well, let's look for hope. It's raining. Keep it here for more conversations. It's 8 a.m.
Spice up your life.
Good morning, this is the Newswire. I'm Leah Obaga. The DCI homicide detectives investigating the death of Geoffrey Mwadhi Ngugi, aka Jeff, that occurred on February 22nd, has concluded its first phase of the investigations. The DCI say the process included the interviewing of the first cluster of witnesses in the case, forensic examination of the scene, and retrieval of CCTV footages that captured the deceased's last moments. Several other DCI forensic experts assisting the homicide investigators have also collected crucial evidence, and the same are being analyzed. The DCI now says they are now progressing to the second phase of the investigations, where several persons of interest will be interrogated and appropriate recommendations made to the ODPP. Azimio leader Raila Odinga will today be in Kiambu County for a series of meetings to persuade his supporters to come out on Monday to participate in protests against the Kenya Kwanza government. Raila and Azimio leaders have been holding meetings in Migori, Kisumu, Mombasa and Narok since last week in preparation of the big day. Speaking in Nakuru yesterday, Raila insisted that the march to State House on Monday would be peaceful.
Hatuwezi kutishwa. Tarehe 20 tutaonana wao ana kwa ana. Biashara wa Kikuyu wasiwe na wasiwasi yoyote. Usihangaishwe na hiyo porojo. Sisi tutalinda biashara ya kila mtu. Wakikuyu ni wa Kenya. Wakikuyu walinipigia mimi kura mingi zaidi. Sisi hatuwezi kuharibu biashara ya mtu yoyote. Sisi tunataka kuboresha uchumi. Tunataka kueneza ajira kwa Wakenya. Hatuwezi kwenda kuharibu biashara ya mtu mdogo.
At the same time, Raila has threatened to sue President William Ruto over defamation claims. Raila states that he'll be moving to court after Ruto claimed that he took part in the 1982 failed coup, a matter that he says he was already cleared for by the court.
I was discharged for lack of any evidence against me. And that's why I was discharged from the charge of treason in 1983. So Naruto, mimi sikukuwa na mahalifu yoyote. Serikali ilishindwa kunishtaki mimi, wakalazimishwa kuniwacha mimi huru. Mimi nitakushtaki wewe kwa kuharibu jina yangu.
As the probe into the irregular payment of the 6 billion shillings in the Telkom Kenya buyout saga intensifies, the Joint Committee on Finance and Communication has gone back to the drawing board in an attempt to unravel the scandal. The committee has now summoned former Treasury CS Ukur Yatani to appear before it to explain why he authorized the payments and whether the payments were sanctioned by a cabinet meeting. The committee has also summoned former Secretary to the Cabinet and Head of Public Service Joseph Kinyua, as well as former Treasury PS Julius Moya.
If you want to remove a checker, you must deal with its ex.
What security concern was it that approved this? And yes, once we call the cabinet secretary, we shall establish whether there was a cabinet memo or not, whether there was a cabinet decision, or whether it was a unilateral decision that was made.
A heated exchange ensued during the session, with a section of committee members demanding that former ICT Cabinet Secretary Joe Misheru be summoned. The committee has also dispatched letters to Jamhuri Holdings for any of its directors to appear before it. However, Helios Investment Limited has its directors in Mauritius Island, Cayman Island, as well as the UK.
Is that you can see this whole thing was about the government investment in Telkom Kenya. Chair, now that you're saying anybody and everybody, I think Chair also, if need be, maybe this committee be allowed to go to Cayman Islands, Mauritius, and the UK, so that we know what this is.
And in the international scene, police in Paris have clashed with protesters after the French government decided to force through pension reforms without a vote in parliament. Crowds converged on Place de la Concorde in response to raising the retirement age from 62 to 64. The plans had sparked 2 months of heated political debate and strikes. Finally, Prime Minister Elizabeth Bone invoked Article 49(3) of the Constitution, allowing the government to avoid a vote in the Assembly. The decision was taken minutes before MPs were scheduled to vote on the controversial bill because there was no guarantee of winning a majority. That's the Newswire. I'm Leah Ubaga.
.5 SpiceFM, Kisumu.
It's a few minutes after 8 o'clock and we're looking at traffic in many parts of the city. All right, here it is on the Thika Superhighway. And now is when folks coming off of Limuru Road seem to have woken up. Northern, what did you call it? Upper and Lower Runda all have joined together coming off the Northern Bypass. And then we're looking at traffic coming in through Ridgeways onto Kiambu Road, as well as Limuru Road coming out through towards Gigiri and out towards Muthaiga at the Square. All right. What else are we looking at? Some traffic coming out of Westlands, a little bit of it into the CBD. The Thika Superhighway not doing too poorly today, but it is heavy traffic all the way from Survey out into the CBD. It's bumper to bumper coming off Juja Road into the city as well. We're in traffic hour. It's a few minutes after 8 o'clock. Let's see what it looks like in about half hour or so. Talk to us on SpiceFM KE on Twitter.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Oko, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latin, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is The Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Welcome to the third hour of The Situation Room. Wait a minute, it's Friday.
It's Friday.
What?
Where have you been?
Hey, I don't know. It's Friday, for real.
Yeah.
Wow.
City's birthday.
Wow.
Keep trying. Keep trying. As I told you, there is a reward for effort. Thank you. That's the reward. But keep trying.
There's a birthday at some point this year.
This month.
This month, actually.
Yes.
Every day until
even
the day
this week. It could also be.
It could be.
This week or next week.
Until your eyes light up and you say.
If I actually told you, then surely I would remove the joy of guessing.
Oh, yeah, that's
so please,
true.
Guess.
We'll keep guessing. Every day we'll be saying happy birthday. Till the day you say thank you.
Unless, of course, if it's past.
It could have been last year.
Wow.
City's birthday was last year. So, welcome to the third hour of The Situation Room. If you're just joining us on KTN Home or SpiceFM or live, where we are live streaming the show on YouTube and Facebook, SpiceFM KE. Karibu sana. Now we want to talk about food security and stabilization of commodity prices in the country. We have been seeing this in the news. So when you talk about purchasing of fertilizer and then distributing this fertilizer to the farmers and saying, okay, our subsidy is going to be applied at the fertilizer, the input stage. Let's purchase fertilizer, let's bring it to a price that farmers could then afford and distribute to the farmers. Fertilizer is already being distributed to farmers who has purchased this fertilizer. We've talked about importation of grain, maize, rice, and in some cases, I think some cereals and other commodities. And we've been told there's this state agency called the Kenya National Trading Corporation that's also being involved in this, and it's looking for how to import this. The other day, there was a story in the papers. KNTC has how many shops?
1,200.
They said no,
not
120,000.
They have identified
120,000.
Yes, according to the report, that was the number. Now you see, my eyes lit up, and I said, you're talking about new things being created, people getting cheap things, and more people being employed. I said, this one sounds good. Yes.
And then we asked ourselves, how is this going to work?
Exactly.
And we said, let's look for KNTC to come and explain to us.
Yes, this is something that this guessing game,
not good.
Guess my birthday if you wish, but this is a matter of national concern. Let people who are experts in this matter come and tell us.
Okay.
Yes.
Pamela Mutua is the managing director of the Kenya National Trading Corporation. She now joins us in the Situation Room. Good morning, Pamela.
Good morning, all of you.
Welcome to the hot seat of the Situation Room.
Thank you.
It's good to have you here. You'll explain very many things to us. We'll ask you so that you can explain to the country. To welcome you to the show, City has the day's proverb, and this week's proverbs have been from a book that was published 3 months after he was born. The book was published on the 17th of June, 1958. So you see where we're coming with the birthday?
You see why we are saying happy birthday?
Let me tell you, I can understand now. Did you even know when you were born? I mean, which day? Those days, I thought it was to be measured by moons or something like that. Or when you saw the sun.
You've forgotten the level of water in the river. Yes.
Oh yeah, that too.
Which was heralded by flights of certain birds in a certain direction.
Oh yes.
Yes. All those things.
It
was the day of the
complicated.
full moon.
The day of the full moon.
That's it. That's all we
it.
know. That's the date. It was which date? No wonder he doesn't know the date.
Yeah.
Keeps telling us, keep guessing.
I'm telling you.
He is the one who's guessing.
Totally, that I understand.
City, kabisa hapo leo umepatikana.
I have actually been consigned to the realms of a relic because it's not even just prehistoric, it's pre-time.
BC.
Before Christ.
Yes. When you were born, how did they keep you warm? I mean, they hadn't discovered fire.
Put you out in the sun a few hours every day.
Okay, the Proverb City.
Yeah.
Right. And how right our guest is. The proverb leads right into it. When the moon is shining. See, moon comes into the proverb. The cripple is hungry for a walk. Yes.
When the moon is shining,
yes,
the cripple is hungry for a walk.
Yes.
Today's proverb, and me, they have refused to enter. Pamela, do you understand this? What's your translation or interpretation of this proverb?
You know, I don't even know how to interpret it without sounding, sinister.
Sound sinister, please.
Yeah, please. So here I am, I'm just imagining the cripple would want to walk even when the sun is shining. Why only the moon? So I just don't get it.
Actually, the cryptic nature of such a proverb lies in precisely what you've just mentioned. You go beyond the obvious and you ask, okay, the obvious is a cripple would want to walk anyway. So, why the moon? Because when the moon... And the reference that I provided was, if you grew up in the rural areas where there was no electricity, when it was dark, it was really... I mean, you could not see even your own hand in front of your face. Now, with the moon came something unusual. So the reference is something unusual, so something that doesn't happen very often. And with it came a lot of joy and a lot of happiness because children could now play at night. Because remember, in the rural areas, by around 7, you're sleeping because...
It's dark.
Yes, and then there are these stories of the animals that lurk in the dark and what they can do for you. Now, the moon dispelled all that. So you suddenly had an opportunity to do something at a time when you never could. So the exceptional circumstances is what brings about now the ethos of this particular proverb. So even a cripple who ordinarily couldn't walk, even in daylight, with the moon came this hope and expectation that something unusual might actually happen.
Oh, fantastic.
Yes.
Wow, now I understand why he's here. He brings the wisdom to the team, isn't it?
I taught literature in a previous life.
Oh, fantastic.
Pamela,
Yes.
the Kenya National Trading Corporation was established 7 years after CT was born. In 1965. Why was it established? What's the mandate of KNTC?
So KNTC has several mandates, but I'll just go through them. Okay, so one of the things we are supposed to do is first spur up retail sector and wholesale sector as government bodies, as a government body. Enhanced distribution of commodities and as and when required. We also do procurement for government on a need-to basis. So some government agencies can come to us and say, we need this and that. Are you able to procure for us? And then we'll do procurement from government to government basis. And for this specific, what we are talking about, food security and everything, we are mandated to actually import bulk commodities for food stabilization, for price stabilization. Essentially, because government is supposed to come in bursts, come in and then go out, because, as we are in liberalized trade, we expect traders to perform optimally and to be, to take it upon themselves to price, goods, especially food, because food is very sensitive, to price it well. So when we see that, the pricing has become haywire, then the government is supposed to come in to provide the price stabilization. Yeah.
Does that mean that KNTC, whenever it's importing, it imports duty-free because it's government?
No, we don't normally always import duty-free. But at times like this, where first you can see there are various elements that are affecting pricing of goods. One being first availability of food, not only in Kenya, I think across the globe. Everyone is going through different aspects of food production. So you find even some countries have actually stopped exportation of food because they don't know the drought situation, how long it's going to take. So that is one. And the second thing, the dollar instability. When you find those kind of situations, then the government has to make decisions about whether at this point it makes, it makes common sense to remove duty, some elements of duty from food to be able to bring the food price down. Meaning that when you extend that to a government body, then we extend it to the customer, to the consumer, who then buys the goods. So it's an element of rather than come and say you'll subsidize, because sometimes when you subsidize, it means the government is giving money to someone so that they can bring the commodity down, and you have no control of how that is done, because it's being done by people that are by companies or the private sector, and it's outside your control. So for us to limit that, we took a decision that the strategy we're going to take is extend the duty free for a certain amount of commodities that will go to a certain people, and then we are able to control the elements of distribution and the elements of reach in times like this.
You mentioned that, looking at the stabilization and the mechanisms that you use for stabilization, what informs that? Because you say when prices go haywire, then we step in and try to stabilize things. So what informs the haywireness of things?
So basically, as government, not only as KNTC, we have other many government agencies. There are agencies that monitor price, local pricing and global pricing of food, commodities, amongst other commodities or other goods and services. So that agency is the one that will be able, gives information to guide policy on whether now government needs to step in to do that, to stabilize prices for certain commodities or for certain goods and services. So at this point in time, I think we are all aware that there is drought, as we know. I mean, of course, we are thankful that rain is here, and even when there is drought, there is also that prices of goods have really gone up. I mean, it's across the range, and this is driven, as I've said, by different elements. So that's the reason why the government now, came in and said, KNTC, this is your mandate. What can we do to be able to stabilize the prices? And and this is the direction that we decided to take, that it's easier for us to bring in the commodities, a certain aspect of it, and then send it to the people, extend the duty-free value to the people.
Does it also come where you also look at then prices of certain things then that must increase in price?
In what sense? I didn't get that question.
Okay, so we've seen, and we've seen that, and maybe tell us if you have any role to play in this, when we've seen that taxes, for example, on certain goods then will increase. Just recently we saw, I believe it was juice we saw, on some alcoholic drinks. Are you involved in that process as well?
No,
or is it something
not
totally
really.
different?
But I've said, because there's agencies that are involved in looking at all these things, there's elements of consumption, elements of what people need. There's a need, there's a want, and there's, those are the things that determine.
Yeah.
So basically, I believe those agencies, because they also feed into other agencies, so some things like taxation and all that come from a different perspective. I mean, there's element of maybe Treasury and KRA sitting together and discussing why there's need to increase those taxes. So I'm not involved in that discussion.
Okay.
Yeah.
Does this involve you, because you talked about importation, importing so that you bring the commodity in the country because you've seen the shortage of that commodity in the country, so that then you help to stabilize the supply and demand curve? Are there areas where you purchase locally?
Okay,
instances.
Yes. Okay. So for like 2 or 3 years, we've been buying rice locally. We've also been buying sugar locally and selling. We sell majorly G2G, government to government, because one of the things you appreciate is that our production costs have been extremely high as Kenya. So some of the goods we offtake. So when you find like, when you buy Moya Bishori, and when you see the cost of Moya Bishori, I mean, it's highly unlikely you'll be competitive. So there are two things we do as a government body. First, it's also to cushion the farmer. So when you go to Moya, you'll find there's KNTC buying, but there's also a broker buying. So if I give an example, in Moya, a kilo of rice, I'm not so quite sure now how much it is. It could be around 145. I'll be buying maybe at around 130. But brokers will be buying at 110. So what happens when the bulk of the rice or local produce is being bought by brokers, the farmer is the one who's not getting the value. So when I come in as government, I want to cushion the farmer. I'm looking at how much are they invested. We work very closely with Ministry of Agriculture and the State Department of Cooperatives, because farmers are actually working under cooperatives. So ideally, it is better for a farmer to take their goods to a cooperative, and then the cooperative will approach us to bring for us to buy the goods. But what mostly happens is that because the farmer wants cash now, they have needs. They want to buy food, they want to pay school fees. So ideally, they are quick to take the lower cash. I'd rather take 110 shillings than wait for 130 from government. But because of that, it makes me almost uncompetitive. So I'm not going to buy at 130 and be able to sell at the same price with the person who bought at 110. But as government, we're not going to market because of profitability. In essence, we are looking to how do we empower our farmers? How do we ensure the person who's taken time to go to the farm gets a return on their investments? That's what we look at. So that's one. So we've gone big on buying rice from Ahero, and we did that project for 2 years, and it's still ongoing. I think as at last year, for us, the ideal situation is to spur the market for these customers. So when people get to know that, the Moya people are not desperate to sell to brokers, then they also come up there like, we'll buy your rice because the rice is good quality. We'll buy your rice at 130. So then I don't need no longer to go and buy the rice, because I've created a market for them at a good rate. If then the abuse comes again, I step back in. So that's also my role. If I give you a very good example, like in the Nyanza area where we were buying rice, I mean, we created a market of them. I used to buy at 47 shillings per kilo paddy. Now they're getting 57 shillings in Uganda. I mean, if there's a market, they sell. That's what we want. We want the farmer to be able to get the best out of what we are doing. And I don't have to be there for a long time. And that's why when I see retailers panicking because KNTC is coming, we're only coming so that we can make sure people sense check. Please just do the right thing. Once we find out you're doing the right thing, we step out, we go to something else, because that's our role, to just make sure that people are doing the right thing, they're selling goods at the right price, that they're not marking it up too high, that they're affecting Kenyans. So in essence, that's what we're trying to do.
But then now you're then not allowing the free market to operate, because a free market would operate if the market is able to offtake the rice from this broker at a certain price, the broker will actually go and try and squeeze how much he can get from the farmer.
Yeah.
Now, the farmer is having to sell this at a higher price because of the cost of production, which is something else that should be dealt with by somebody else. When you come in as KNTC and set the price for the farmer at 130, are you not affecting the price that I'm going to buy the rice at?
Well,
destabilizing the free market.
Well, the thing is, I think we have to look at different facets of who we need to take care of. What I'm trying to say is that, there's the price of the commodity. I mean, I think we've been here, we've had the discussion again and again. It's the same media that propagated that, government wants forcing farmers to buy maize at 5,000 shillings, whilst the market price, I don't know, it was 6,000, I can't remember what that number was. But, it's exactly, I mean, we have to choose. Who do we want to support? Do we want to support that poor woman who wakes up every day and toils to make sure that there is food for her children? And she has invested in inputs. There are inputs to farm.
Yep.
There is labor. Whether it is her own labor or she's hiring labor, I mean, there's labor cost. There's a cost to everything.
Yeah.
So when someone comes and says, because they have money, I can buy it at 110. I mean, you go and do whatever you want. I mean, this person is left saying, okay, fine, I spent 110. Let me just get my money back. Are we being fair? What is the role of government in all this? I mean, in all fairness. Are we looking at open market as a way of frustrating production, or are we looking, because the next time, you know what that lady will do?
She will not go back to farm.
She will not go back and farm. And that's exactly what has happened in Kenya. People are not farming because they're not getting return on investment. And this has been destroyed because the people who are buying the commodities are pushing it for their own interests.
Sure.
So at some point, there has to be a balance. And that's what we are seeking. That as we tell people to go back and farm, we are taking care of now the fertilizer program.
Yeah.
My work is actually just to bring the fertilizer. Ministry of Agriculture is there to encourage the people to go back to our farms. You farm. And I know as government we are doing a lot across the value chains to ensure that the farmer will no longer be taken advantage of.
My issue here, though, Pamela, is once you come in to buy at above what the market is ready to buy at, you're basically subsidizing the farmer at the point of purchase. Now, how much are you going to offload that to the market yourself? Let's say you've bought the rice, the brokers are asking for 110, KNTC comes into the market and says, we'll take the rice from the farmers at 130. How much will I buy as a consumer?
So Latif, I want to ask you a simple question. Is it better for me to find a market for the value that I have bought, or to push the price down? I'll give you an example. We have avocados, yeah?
Yep.
There's what we take. I mean, even tea, grade 1 tea. You don't consume grade 1 tea, do you?
No,
Yeah,
hardly.
it's exported.
Do we even know what grade 1 tea is?
Yes.
We consume
so
dust.
what I'm trying to say, if we have good Bishori rice, and it's of high quality,
Yeah.
who says we have to consume it here if the people cannot afford? We can leave it for those who can afford. We can say, for whatever, let's do this. The rest, let's export. And we're looking for things to go. I mean, we can export and bring the rice that we can afford and eat it here. But we cannot tell the farmer, now stop growing Bishori. Well, let's plant what we can afford. Let's all plant. Let's be eating Sindano because that's what we can afford. I mean, what are we saying about a country? If we can produce A-class rice that can be eaten in China, in Korea, in India for a top dollar price, let's export. And then let's consume what we can afford.
If the export market is available, and the export market can afford 130, then the export market would be at the farm gate, asking for 130. You're coming in to ask for 130 because the market is asking for 110, which is lower from what you... But my argument here is, are you not destabilizing the
I'm
market?
not destabilizing. I'm not destabilizing. I'm saying the farmer should be paid for the effort and the sweat they make. And if the farmer deserves 130, I'll pay 130. If I have to sell it for 250 in another country, I'll go and seek that market. If that rice is in my store and I'm not able to sell it, then we can have the conversation. Pamela, you're not doing the right thing because now you've bought the rice and it's stuck in my warehouse. But it's not stuck. I'm selling.
So am I hearing you say that then what we're doing here is essentially killing two birds with one stone? Because you're saying, okay, fine, the rice that the end user, the consumer, the person who is eating rice in their home, if they're able to buy this for a particular price, then let's go ahead and do that. But we are not going to do that at the risk of having this farmer earn less shilling than is their worth. If we have to take that rice that the farmer is farming essentially and sell it out of the country for them to be able to benefit, then we'll do that.
I think that's exactly what we're saying. And I can tell you, it's not only the rice farmer. There's so many farmers who are struggling in Kenya. We are not talking about sugar farmers. We are not talking of dengu farmers. I mean, beans. People have stopped. I mean, Kenyans, the food situation in Kenya is crazy. If you can actually just call a farmer here to sit and tell you their story, it's when you'll actually understand the role of government. In fact, you'll actually question where has KNTC been? What did they need to do? And we are now doing it. We are talking to different farmers. I just came from a meeting yesterday. Now we want to actually deal with ndengu farmers. We finished with rice farmers. Now we want to deal with ndengu and beans. What can we do to spur production? Because, I mean, there is opportunity for these farmers to make money. But if government leaves it open for only brokers to participate in that space, farmers will never thrive. And that's where I was born. I was educated with farm money. We used to farm in like a small whatever piece of land. But that is the whatever which we used to sell and we used to make money. Coffee. Half of people have been educated by coffee and tea. We have to streamline those elements so that people can know they cannot take advantage. And if you do that, let me tell you, the problems you're seeing here now will end, because what will happen, everyone will go back to the farm. And most of the people, how many people live in the cities? You ask yourself. There are very few of us who are working. If you look at the data, the majority are the ones who are in the rural, and they're the ones who are supposed to be farming. But if we don't farm, that's when you have people seated on the shops outside the street, that you have youth now who have started taking, going into abusing drugs, because even if they go and farm, there's no money they're going to make from farming. We have to make farming an agribusiness where people know, if I go to my farm, I'll be able to get money out of it. Even if I make 10 shillings a kilo of what I farm, that's okay. I mean, that is enough money. It will inspire me to say, I'll go back again.
Because I can make some more.
It will even inspire people to say, I can go and borrow money to buy inputs so that I can be able to, because I'll make money.
Okay, let's take a break. 27 minutes to 9. Pamela Mutua is the Managing Director of the Kenya National Trading Corporation, established in 1965, given the role of, at that point of independence, spurring retail and wholesale business in the country, and then throughout the years, looking at how to step in and help in price stabilization for various commodities. And now that's what they've been doing. Importation of fertilizer, and now distributing that fertilizer. Well, the Ministry of Agriculture and counties distributing the fertilizer, off-taking produce from farmers, and also importing produce that comes into the country to stabilize the market. We want to understand a bit more. Time for us to take that break. We'll be back shortly. Please tell her about Flying Emirates and why business is away.
Flying better with Emirates. So you can imagine the opportunities that you'd have on the ground. You can do all of these things in the air while going from destination A to destination B, having a drink in the air, talking business while you fly, having a sleep the way you would in your bedroom while you fly, and then waking up at whatever end of the destination and then coming out fresh as a flower as you go to your next meeting. All these things available in first and business class on Emirates. Fly better.
They serve you premium grade A Kenyan Pishori rice.
With real silverware.
They're better.
Back shortly.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Are you looking for your dream home or the perfect plot of land to build on? Look no further than Digger Real Estate, the e-commerce site for all your real estate needs. From cozy apartments to sprawling estates, we have a wide selection of houses for rent and for sale. And if you're looking to build from scratch, we have prime plots of land available for purchase. Don't settle for anything less than your ideal home. Head to realestate.digger.co.ke today to start your search. Digger Real Estate, where your dream home becomes a reality.
Can you dig it?
The sun is peeking through those clouds in Nairobi. We'll see highs today of 26 and lows of 15. It's sunny at 16 in Nakuru, highs of 25. And we'll see highs of 24 in a partly sunny Nyeri at 16. It's 13 and sunny in Eldoret, highs of 23. And 33 will be the high in Mombasa at sunny conditions at 28 in Malindi. We'll go to highs of 32. It's sunny at 20 in Kisumu, highs of 28 and highs of 27 in Kakamega. Rain is coming down in Kampala at 20 with highs of 25. We'll see lows of 18. And it's sunny at 27 in Dar es Salaam with highs of 33 and lows of 25. It's sunny at 12 in Johannesburg, highs of 24, and Lagos will see highs of 33. 31 will be the high in cloudy Kinshasa, coming down to lows of 23.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
Right, so traffic has not been too bad this morning. We're looking at it dwindling, coming off a Thika Superhighway, not too bad. The Northern Bypass still has something, and it tries to connect with Kiambu Road, coming into the city. Limuru Road a little bit here and there, just past the village market, but you should be okay. Western's not the nightmare that we saw a few hours ago. And also, Juja Road is also looking better as you get into the city. Landys Road, that's totally different kettle of fish because it's very, very busy, trying to then connect with Kamkunji. Coming off Kangundo Road a little bit here and there, as well as Manyanja. And there is Lunga Lunga with traffic in and outbound. Probably contend with that for a bit. Let's see how it opens up through the morning. SpiceFM KE on Twitter. Talk to us there and let's keep things moving.
Spice up your life. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.
The Kenya National Trading Corporation Managing Director Pamela Mutua, who's here to tell us how KNTC impacts consumer commodity prices. She's explained to us what they do in terms of getting into the market, in and out, noticing, observing what's happening, and then coming in to help stabilize the price, either at farm gate price or at retail price.
You know, we spent the previous hour discussing CASs, the cost there involved with the appointments and so forth. But when you talk about KNTC in this hour, this is something I've lauded this government for. Because KNTC had died. I mean, you knew it existed somewhere, but you didn't know in which closet it had been put into. But you see, KNTC didn't exist in isolation. Again, I have to go back down memory lane. See, around that same time that KNTC was being established, moving forward, we had ICDC, the Industrial, Commercial and Development Corporation. We had Kenya Industrial Estates. There was KNTC, yes, but we had Agricultural Finance Corporation. We had ADC. Now, what am I saying?
KFA.
Yes.
The cooperatives, KPCU,
You've understood exactly where I'm going with this clearly. We had a structure that was supposed to be what we call the back end of all the activities that would eventually end up at KNTC. Meaning, if you are an industrialist, you want to set up maybe a business, you want to set up a hotel, you wanted to do something, there was ICDC. You would go there.
Yeah.
This SME, small, light industry that we talk about, Kenya Industrial Estates was supposed to cover that. Okay? So that locally would grow that capacity to ensure that when matters get to KNTC is supposed to now function and ensure their commercial responsibility is carried out well. You're talking about agriculture. We had government farms, we had ADC, but we had Agricultural Finance Corporation that was supposed to ensure that the farmer is looked after. If you look at this discussion of edible oil and you go into our archives, in 1994, a task force, I'm calling it a task force, it wasn't that, it was a committee, was sent to India to study how it is India moved from a net importer of edible oils to a net exporter. And they did it in 3 years. Now, what they did was very simple. They looked at what you needed to plant to produce oils, whether it is soya beans, whether it is sunflower, whether it's groundnut, whether it's cashew nuts, and they focused. But they took it a step further. Whatever was the residue from this, the cakes, they realized this was also cattle feed. So they did a 360, if not a 720 on this one. So nothing went to waste. Now, when you have everything that is being produced and left behind being utilized, you are then supporting a different industry. Now, that was now the dairy industry.
Yeah.
That was the chicken and egg industry. And it goes on and on and on. Now, that task force came back and we determined. Remember, there used to be stories of parathram. Okay? There were stories of cashew nuts at the coast, palm oil at the coconuts, groundnuts. Somehow this story started, but it was never given the full impetus. We even had stories of sunflower. We pushed up to a point, and then somehow it was let to die. Now, if India could turn around their situation, we could have. But the support system that was embedded in these agencies that I'm speaking about, again, were not supported.
Yeah.
So we continued being a net importer, as opposed to having been what we could have been, given the structures that we started off with. So when you look at the role of KNTC now, what they're doing is trying to revive something that was set up a long time ago and to actually play their role. And their task is a difficult one. And will continue being difficult if the supporting agencies don't do
everything else is not aligned.
Yes, KNTC is going to have a very hard time.
Because the area of import, for example, Pamela, all those things that you've said, the reason why, and you've said it yourself, the reason why farmers are having this difficulty is because the cost of production is high. Cost of inputs is high. Fertilizer. Now we are subsidizing fertilizer, but then are we addressing everything else that makes the cost of production high, the cost of milk high, the cost of growing a grain of rice high or maize high? All those things. We have acidic soils, we have high cost of fertilizer, do we have fertilizer being produced locally? Are all those things being worked on so that you now focus on coming in and going out of the market to support the value chain?
Thanks for asking that. I think it would have been ideally a response that from a policy perspective that could have been answered. But one thing I can assure you, Latif, there's a lot going on. If you've had a discussion with my cabinet secretary, Mr. Moses Kuria, he will tell you about how we are working to spur manufacturing. We're not going to spur manufacturing, including of edible oil, if we do not have local production. So as we look at all these facets, all these things are going on. By the way, AFC, ADC, they're not dead. They're there. They exist. ICDC, I think with mergers, strengthened. Now it's Kenya Development Corporation. We have all these bodies. Maybe KIE, there's need to do something there so that we can streamline the SMEs.
Yep.
But in essence, all these bodies exist. I liked how they called us moribund, and I was like, that's not a bad idea. there's not, if you've ever seen a life cycle of a product, I mean, it goes down and sometimes it could die. But if it doesn't die, it will be given, there's something that comes in.
There's
if you
hope.
don't reinvent yourself, you can die. But we reinvented ourselves. We have shown that we are capable of actually doing something. And that has given the government the impetus to support us to be able to move to the next level. As you asked me at the beginning, am I going to be importing forever? I actually don't want to be importing. I actually want to be exporting. Exporting is a better business. I don't know whether you know that. Because when I export, I bring dollars to the country. So this importation, I'm actually hoping that it will be just a one-off. I want in the next 6 months to sit here with you and tell you now we are exporting.
And we're not talking about something that's highly mysterious, are we?
No.
Because here you are saying that, and I hope I'm not putting words in your mouth, but I would hope that that's what you were saying, that if we're going to solve the problems of food in terms of supply in this country, as well as sort out the development issue, that Kenya must grow its own food.
It must.
Kenya must grow its own food, feed its populations, care for its farmers, and then start to send some of that surplus outside the country.
I have said exactly that. I mean, you ask yourself, why are we buying rice from India? Do you think the Indians don't eat rice? They do. But it means they have already
even more than
taken,
we do.
Yeah, even more than we do. But it means that they're, Pakistanis, it means they've already fed their population. Now they have grown so much that they have enough to feed us, to feed maybe Dubai, to feed other countries. I mean, that's a position ideally Kenya should be. So, that we have enough land, that if actually we can be able, that's why you're seeing plans around water. Because you're not going to farm if you have no water. That's why you're seeing plans around fertilizer. Why are we giving a certain type of fertilizer? It's not because we are constrained and we just want to give this type of fertilizer. There's thinking around it. He talked about acidic soils. If you have acidic soils, you don't produce as much. We have to do something and we have to stop sitting. I think in the near future, you'll actually start seeing. My dad was an agricultural extension officer, and I take pride of that because he used to go out. He would be in farmers' farms teaching them what the correct way of farming, what to do to get the quality we need. We have bodies that if you want to export, you can actually visit as a farmer and tell them, I want to be exporting beans. For example, what type of beans are required in Europe? They give you
the know-how. I think you then preempt a question that I was going to ask in terms of folks that you're working with to be able to have these things done. Because we keep talking about the wealth of information, the wealth of knowledge that is right here in Kenya. And then now you look at KNTC and say, okay, if this is the goal that we are trying to achieve, there are bodies that have been set up. Kauro, all these guys have this information, and I, from conversations that we've had, it's almost as though they're begging people to say, we have this, how can we share and how can we help? It seems to me that they would be fantastic partners to be able to see this come to life.
They're already our partners. Let me tell you, one of the things I like about what I'm doing now is that I don't have to struggle alone. I'll give you an example of what we did with fertilizer. We actually used the Ministry of Interior, the chiefs, assistant chiefs, to collect data on farmers. This data was structured, the paperwork was structured by Calro. This data, once it's received, it was given to Bureau of Statistics, Kenya National Bureau of Statistics. They put it in a format that can be now used. They transferred it to Calro. Now, Calro has a database of over 5 million farmers, and it's growing very fast because I think there was unbelievability. Kenyans were all those people suspicious. Hey, why are these people collecting my data? Maybe let me not give my data. But now people have realized, hey, yeah, we are serious. We are actually using the data because with that data, I can tell who is planting, who needs fertilizer, what type of fertilizer. We can plan ahead. And that's why we're talking about agricultural data so that we can use data to plan. Now, even for my short-term rains, I've already started planning the data, using the data, how many farmers will be growing, because it's short rains, maybe it's the crops that, grow for a short period, could be beans, could be ndengu, those kind of things. You plan for them. Do they need fertilizer? Do they need how much? If it's maize, how much will be needed? So there's that plan which is there. Now you can see the stakeholder. The Galro then guys analyze the data and tell us, now these are the number of bags of fertilizer. These people, we send messages, using Safaricom or other, if you're in Telkom or Airtel, you get a message saying that, fertilizer is ready. Please go to your nearest store. Go and collect fertilizer. Farmers are like, oh, you mean this was serious? So even if you're not planned to go to the farm, you're like, okay, let me try. Maybe I'm entitled to have, number of acres. We've multiplied by the number of bags. So, you're like, maybe I'll plant half. These people might not be serious. But I can tell you, in 2 years, they'll be like, these people are serious. I am going to my farm, because they'll see. We were serious about providing the inputs. We want to provide seeds maybe in the next round. We want to provide input so that the farmer can say, now let me go and farm. My work is to farm. When I produce now, the government is ready to take. We're also preparing ourselves now as KNTC. If there's a bumper harvest of maize, NCPB perhaps will be the one who will handle the maize. They have silos to dry, they can store the grains. And then now our work is to find the market. Where are we going to sell the maize? Is it to the millers? Is it outside the country? Or do we even create strategic reserves that can be able to store grains even for a longer period of time? Because maize is a commodity that can become very scarce very fast. So how do we dry the maize so that it can be stored for a longer period of time? So those are the discussions that are happening. And I can tell you, if you're patient enough, you'll start seeing the result. You'll see the results. It's a whole, all these players are in this thing. We are not doing this alone.
So right now, the farmers are accessing the fertilizer and they're paying, 3,500?
Yes.
How much did you buy the fertilizer for?
We're buying the fertilizer at 4,500, so the government is subsidizing at 1,000 shillings.
Is that the most competitive price? How do we know that 4,500 was the best that came?
Actually, from last year, November, we even had meetings with the Fertilizer Association of Kenya locally, and we asked them to give us the costs of fertilizer, what they would want to sell to us. And I can tell you, the fertilizer we selected was what we could be able to give to the farmer at the affordable price. We had fertilizer ranging to 6,000, 5,800. And the question we asked is, do we want to buy expensive fertilizer and then subsidize for less people, or would we rather go cheaper and subsidize to more farmers? And that's why you can see now, previous subsidies, people have, farmers have been getting, I think, up to 10, 20 bags maximum. Now we have farmers buying 1,000 bags.
Can I ask the question, Pam?
Yeah, sure.
When you talk about finding something that is cost effective, what are you looking for? Are you looking for efficacy? Are you looking for something that will actually produce the yield that is desired, or is the focus on the actual cost? Because it could cost less, but you may need to use a lot more for you to have the results that the one which is considered expensive would.
Okay, so first we were looking at efficacy, and then secondly we were also looking at soil acidity, our soils. So we were asking ourselves, what is the best fertilizer to use for the type of soils we have? And so based on that range, we were coming up and saying, first let's eliminate what is not, what we don't want to use that can cause soil acidity. So you remove that, then we are left with what can now be used and who is giving us the best price. The types of fertilizers are not many. We have DAP, we have NPKs, and then we have blends of NPKs. Yeah. So in essence, those are the fertilizers we use for planting. So we just went with NPKs and the blends of NPK, and we asked ourselves, what is the price range based on what was available, and we selected what was fair.
What sort of period of time do we need to wait before we actually understand the effectiveness of this fertilizer?
When the season ends, I think we should be harvesting. When does that harvest happen? Maybe May, June? I don't know. That's when we'll be able to say.
That's when we'll be able to tell whether this fertilizer actually did the thing that it was supposed to do or not.
Yes.
There's this never-ending discussion that we have talked about in this studio. I'm referring to edible oils and the manufacturing of it, and the capacity that the industries that deal with edible oils have. Now, if I leave the issue of the dollar aside and the ability to import whatever materials one needs aside, okay? If you then support what you call the stabilization of the cost of living, how does that impact the industry, the people who are the second tier of value addition?
Okay, first, as government, we support value addition, and I do not want this to be constrained. The fact that we're importing a portion of edible oils, to think that government does not support manufacturing. I mean, that is exactly where, jobs will come from, and not only jobs, where, people who grow the inputs, if we can be able to encourage people to grow more and more inputs, that's where we are headed to. So why are we here? The history of edible oils is very interesting. Before 2018, it was an open market. People could import edible oil. I mean, any trader could import edible oil to compete locally. And I think one of the things we realize is that the cost of edible oil is very high. And it is almost out of reach for many Kenyans. And we have looked at what are the costs of imports and how much would it be ideally. Because even if I was to import edible oil finished and even pay the taxes, which are there in place, of course, to cushion the edible oil manufacturers, you still end up, the product is cheaper in the market. And the question I ask myself is, why then are they not able to come down, their price down? I'll give you an example. When they got wind that government is going to import cooking oil, at some point in December, January, cooking oil actually price came down. So I ask myself, nothing changed other than just, information that government is going to import. So for me, it goes back to what I was talking about. As traders, as manufacturers, we have to take care of the consumer. We have to stop looking at self-interests and ask ourselves, it's not always about money. I know it's about money, but it can't always be about money.
Pamela, do I hear you to be saying
Yes.
that the edible oil manufacturers are a cartel?
Am I allowed to say that?
And I'm using the word cartel in the worst possible sense.
Yeah.
Yes, because
that they cannot justify the price at which they've been selling.
Yes, because if they could reduce it because of an imminent threat, then it means they could have sold it at that price previously.
Yes.
So the question is then asked, then why were they not selling it? But then the question I would ask, is that the whole story?
I would want them to come here and tell us the whole story. But for me, from where I sit, I actually saw that, they're playing with our minds. I do not want to be judgmental because I'm not here to judge them. Everyone is entitled to their business. For me, I can only talk about what I want to do. I want to make sure that if they are not doing the right thing, then I can step in and bring cheaper cooking oil for people to buy, and especially the people who cannot afford. Maybe you and me can afford to buy from the supermarket shelves at the price that it's going for. I don't know. But there are people who actually are struggling. And I don't know whether you've ever gone to a kiosk and you find someone trying with this bottle of whatever, asking to be given, just a little oil to cook for that day. That is the person I'm talking about. So when you go and you tell them they have to buy it at 300 or 500 shillings, they're not going to cook that day. They'll just boil with water and they move on.
Perhaps a conversation should be had with them to understand why they're costing it or they're pricing the way they price it at. Is it because of the cost of doing business, just like you said about farmers? Is it because of the taxation and the levies that they have to undergo?
The cost of production.
What is it?
And I believe that discussion is ongoing, at a policy level. For me, I just strongly believe they need to engage, and they need to remain open to these kind of mitigations, especially if they don't step up to the table and engage with government on the same.
We've come to the end of the hour. It's a short one, and you need to come back and tell us. There's a lot more, especially when all the imported grain arrives, to start rolling it out to the shops. We need to understand how the mechanics of that will work. But thank you for joining us today.
Thank you, Eric. I think that's the only name I got.
CT and
CT and
Ndu.
Oh, CT and Ndu.
You can call me Pamela.
Okay. Ndu.
No.
Not at all. Thank you for having me, and I can't wait to come back. It was a nice, interesting discussion. I really loved to come back.
Asante, come back soon. Pamela Mutua is the Managing Director of the Kenya National Trading Corporation, telling us about how KNTC is impacting commodity prices for all of us consumers. Good morning, 9 a.m.
Spice up your life.
Couple who had their 20 million shillings Westlands property demolished last November have received some good news that proves the land actually belongs to their father, Batuk Shah. David Nyondora, senior assistant to the chief land register, revealed to the Nairobi County Assembly Planning Committee that rogue officials had almost erased all of the property's records but accidentally spared crucial information. Officials who were after Shah's land details mistakenly tore off the land reference details belonging to another property. The Directorate of Criminal Investigations is now probing the matter. The DCI homicide detectives investigating the death of interior designer Jeff Mwadhi have concluded its first phase of the investigation. DCI boss Amin Mohammed says they've interviewed the first cluster of witnesses, recovered forensic examination from the scene, and retrieved CCTV footages of the deceased's last moments. This event comes as DCI detectives late last week visited DJ Fatso's Redwood apartment along Thika Road, where Mwadhi is said to have fallen from the 12th floor. Directors EABL and parent company Diageo could face a fine of up to 39 billion shillings for disobeying a Supreme Court order regarding a beer supply contract. The fine, amounting to 20% of EABL's sales, comes after former supplier Beer Tosha Distributors accused the brewer of failing to give back beer distributorship routes in parts of Nairobi, Machakos and Kajiado. The Supreme Court last month ordered EABL to reinstate Beer Tosha on the contested routes following a court battle that began in 2016. Former Treasury Cabinet Secretary Ukur Yatani has been summoned by the Departmental Committee on Finance to answer questions regarding the 6 billion shillings Telkom buyout scandal. The Finance Committee initiated the probe after concerns were raised about a potential irregular transaction of public funds. The National Assembly Committee on Budget Appropriations declined to approve the allocation of money to fund the takeover and called for more clarity. The Finance Committee, led by Molo Member of Parliament Kuria Kimani, aims to investigate the process followed in the payment of the 6 billion shillings to the foreign company months before the August 2022 elections.
If you want to remove a chica, you must deal with its ex.
What security concern was it that approved this? And yes, once we call the cabinet secretary, we shall establish whether there was a cabinet memo or not, whether there was a cabinet decision, or whether it was a unilateral decision that was made.
Milimani Law Court's Chief Magistrate Wendy Misheni has ruled in favor of Agriculture CS Mithika Lunturi and allowed the eviction of Aldai MP Marian Kitani from his Runda home. The court vacated the orders issued, which had barred the eviction, and reinstated the orders of February 7th. The motion seeking the orders to allow eviction was filed by Berlin auctioneers alongside Lunturi. On February 15th, a group of people broke into the home and evicted Kitani despite the orders barring it. Kitani shared the home with Lunturi before their bitter fallout more than 6 years ago. The court has ordered this OCS Runda police station to provide security and police assistance during the eviction. Military helicopters and anti-stock theft unit officers have bombed Tandare Valley, Baringo County, one of the hideouts for bandits targeted in the second phase of a security operation in the troubled north. Security troops are set to launch a combined land and air operation to comb caves, gorges and ravines in insecurity-prone areas in the Kenya north, following the expiry of a 24-hour vacate order issued by Interior CS Kithure Kindiki on Sunday. The troops on the ground include the KDF, National Police Reservists, Rapid Deployment Unit, ASTU, and the General Service Unit. This is what some of the residents in the area had to say about the second phase of the operation.
Tumeona kilio na tukaona Mthika ako huko. Hatujui nini naendelea. Hatuwezi kusema amefanya nini huko. Tumeona tu kazi imefanyika huko na hatuwezi kujua ni serikali ama ni nani.
Ndio tulianza kusikia migurumo. migurumo ikilia huko, lakini haikuwa karibu, ilikuwa bari. Halafu pia kulikuwa na ndege zilikuwa zinapitia juu. Hata kabi kubwa ijeko hapa hivi, ndio wale watu hawezi kuja upande gani, upande huu kuja kubeba mali yetu.
That's the news wire. I'm Lea Ubaga.
.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
At a few minutes after 9 o'clock, a little bit of traffic here and there sprinkled across the city of Nairobi. We're looking at some outbound traffic, and that's out of Nairobi, heading out towards Naivasha, out into Nakuru city, and then we'll look out into Kisumu for the weekend. It's not too crazy. In and outbound traffic of these is not too bad. Let's go in an easterly direction. Outbound of Nairobi, out to Mombasa Road, also not bad either. We're settling down in terms of traffic this morning. We're a little bit left on Limuru Road, some on Kiambu Road, but the Thika Superhighway looking much, much better and free and clear in terms of where you're going. All right, let's keep an eye on things and check one more time. SpiceFM KE on Twitter as we attempt to keep things moving.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Oko, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latif, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is The Situation Room. The only
welcome to the final hour of The Situation Room this week. It's Friday, the 17th day of March, 2023. And we've been here since 6 a.m. We're here every weekday morning, 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. Now, if you miss a conversation, maybe you just got caught up, you woke up late, you had to get into an early meeting, or something was happening and you were not able to catch the conversation on YouTube or Facebook or TV, what you can do is you can actually catch up with the conversation at whatever time, that same day or any other day, because all our conversations are recorded and they are available on our YouTube channel and our Facebook page, SpiceFM KE. We have very many people who actually catch up with our conversations much later in the day, and that's Sunday, like, yeah, so I hadn't seen that interview earlier or that conversation earlier. I caught up with it later. Good thing to do, okay? Join them. Be smart. Be like them. Don't miss out on any conversation. Now, we want to have a conversation about glaucoma. It's World Glaucoma Week 2023, and we have a doctor from the Kenyatta National Hospital. Dr. Rebecca Nandasaba is an ophthalmologist. Good morning, Daktari.
Good morning.
Welcome to the hot seat of The Situation Room.
Thank you.
Karibu sana. Make yourself comfortable. Feel at home.
Asante sana.
You'll tell us a lot about glaucoma and the disease and the condition and why it's given an entire week. We just know about days. Today is a day for this. Why is glaucoma given an entire week? But to welcome you to the show is Bwana C.T. Muga, who has a proverb.
Our proverb is part of a series of proverbs from the book Things Fall Apart by Chinua Achebe. When the moon is shining, the cripple is hungry for a walk.
When the moon is shining, the cripple is hungry for a walk. Daktari, do you understand that proverb?
No.
That's right. You're allowed not to understand.
Just hazard a guess. What do you think the proverb is saying? When the moon is shining, the cripple is hungry for a walk.
Wow, that's a good one. I shall have to think through it. Probably I request it be broken down.
I will break it down, City.
Yeah.
Okay. When you talk about traditional proverbs, usually the setting is a rural setting. Now, the thing about the moon and why it's fascinating is in a rural setting, long before the advent of electricity, when it was dark, it's pitch dark. You probably cannot even see your own hand in front of your face. So now, when the moon is out, anyone who has been in the rural areas as a child, probably, children play. They go out, they play, they have fun. They do something that ordinarily they would not do. Now, so the moon heralds a time of, should we say, something unusual, something that you probably even look forward to. It's like from one full moon to the other. And one of the things that would happen, if I recall my time as a child in rural areas, you actually went out to play. Now, so this is unusual. The previous guest said, but a cripple would like to walk even in daylight. I said, that's true. But you see, there's something about the moon, it's unusual. Full moon is unusual. And what is also unusual is what you do. It's something you don't normally do. You don't play at night as children, but here you do. And so the proverb doesn't say wants to walk, is hungry to walk, meaning somebody who had a problem that they were not able to overcome sees hope in this, because it's like, it's unusual. So even I, who is unable to use my limbs to walk, who knows, I might actually be able to walk. So the new moon heralded hope. The general thinking about it, yes. But you can add your own interpretation.
I like that interpretation. And I think it's quite appropriate for the topic we're going to discuss today, because we're here to give hope to our patients and to make them aware about this condition called glaucoma, and why we actually give it a whole week of celebration to create awareness.
Very good. So let's get straight into it. What's glaucoma?
Glaucoma is a group of eye conditions that affects the nerve that connects the eye to the brain and helps us to see. So in glaucoma, this nerve gets damaged slowly over time, and eventually causes blindness. And once it does cause blindness, unfortunately, it's a condition that we cannot reverse. So it's important for us to be aware so that we do not get to that point where it's too late to do anything.
So once it does cause blindness is then when obviously there's no going back. But I hear then that there's something you can do before it causes blindness. Can you be cured of glaucoma? Number one. Number two, what treatment then is available so that you don't get to the blindness part?
Glaucoma is usually, once it sets in, it's a condition that we refer to as progressive. That is, if nothing is done about it, over time, usually years, it slowly damages the eye and you cannot do anything about it. When it comes to managing it, we cannot say we have treated it completely, but the medication that we have and the treatments that we have are designed to really slow it down as much as possible. And prevent this damage or slow it down as much as possible so that we preserve your vision. Yes.
You've said it's a group of eye conditions. Who's in this group?
It's how we look at it, we classify it into the type of the different causes. We have one that we refer to as a primary open angle. This one is the most common in Africa. Then we have those ones that we call secondary glaucomas that arise as a result of a different condition, additional condition. So this could be as a result of an injury to the eye that happened some time back, maybe years, maybe months. If you've had a severe eye infection that has damaged the eye, can also lead to glaucoma. And then we also have a group of diseases like diabetes and hypertension, which can cause blockage of blood vessels in the eye and also eventually lead to glaucoma. And finally, we have side effects of medication, especially steroids, which also can lead to glaucoma. So when we look at it, we classify it into these different categories so that it can direct us in terms of how to manage the disease.
You mentioned Africa while talking about the prevalence of this particular condition. Okay, just walk us through gently, step by step. What is it in Africa that allows for this prevalence?
Okay, if I would start with worldwide, why we pay attention to it, that it's the second most common cause of blindness. In Africa, we also have a big percentage of people who suffer from it. Yeah, but now we also have challenges that are unique in Africa. Availability of medication is limited, and then sticking to treatment is also complex. So in Africa now we pay special attention to it, so that now we are able to prevent the blindness that comes from it because we bear the bigger part of the load compared to the rest of the world.
So you're saying that because of the economic constraints that we have, which then bring about our inability to access appropriate health care, so that something that could ordinarily have been prevented or treated or to avert the eventuality of blindness that you spoke of is not possible simply because of that particular situation that we find ourselves in. Now, then you mentioned non-communicable diseases that also contribute to it. Now, for the longest time, these have been diseases that have been, should we say, reportedly common in the West. So, because it is reportedly common in the West, do we then see a preponderance of glaucoma in the West as a result of some of these diseases?
In terms of the non-communicable diseases, we are in the same situation where we are seeing a rise, basically due to our lifestyle, the foods we eat, the way we have become more sedentary. So I find illnesses like diabetes are on the rise, and really the complications that come with it, including glaucoma. Back to the same situation, we also have limited access to medication and follow-up, and the latest treatments that are available to manage these diseases. So disproportionately, we still find that we bear the burden of these diseases. Yes.
How does it present itself? What are the symptoms of glaucoma?
Thank you for asking that question, because it's important for us to be aware that what is unique about glaucoma, it's very silent. Most of the time, it will not have any symptoms in the early phases of the disease. And for that reason, that's why it's referred to as the silent thief of vision. So you'll not have any symptoms. But then as the disease advances, eventually it leads to loss of vision. And what is unique also about the loss of vision in glaucoma, it also starts from the side, what is technically referred to as peripheral vision loss. In a small percentage of patients, they would now present with what we describe as halos. That is like a ring of color around a light source. Maybe you're looking at a headlight when you're driving at night and you see it has like a rainbow around it. Or you're in the house in the evening and the light bulb is on, and then you notice like there's a ring around it. There's also a type of glaucoma that we refer to as acute angle closure glaucoma. That one now would present with a bit more dramatic symptoms of headache, vomiting, and severe pain in the eye. But that's for a very small number of patients. So for the majority, there'll be no symptoms in the earlier.
For the majority, there's nothing that you're going to feel. No headaches.
No headache.
Your vision will just be going.
It will just be going slowly over the years.
And as that is happening, what is actually happening to the eye? What's causing this to happen? Is it that your optic nerve is dying, is dead? What is it?
So during this time, your optic nerve is slowly getting damaged and dying off. Most of the time, it's associated with raised pressures in the eye that contribute greatly to the death of this nerve, though not always. But it gets damaged slowly over time. So as it gets damaged, you start losing vision, like in patches. Let me take you back a bit. In terms of how we assess vision, there are two components to it. So the first component is how clearly you can see. I'm able to see what is written on the book. I'm able to see the television set. And then there's also what we refer to as the area of vision. That if you're looking somewhere, you're able to see everything that is in front of you. And also a bit of what is on the side, what we like referring to as at the corner of my eye. If you see something probably passing, it will catch your attention. So that vision starts dying off slowly in bits and pieces.
Do we see that glaucoma affects particular ages? Or can you see? I mean, I've seen cases of glaucoma in children. What happens there? And would you say that the optic nerve is damaged even at that point? Were they born with a damaged optic nerve? Or do we see more cases of glaucoma in those then who have progressed in age? So
I remember earlier on I had mentioned that we classify it into different categories. So for the adults, what I had referred to as the primary open angle glaucoma, that is most prevalent in Africa, we see its prevalence increasing with age, especially from the age of 40. That's when you see the numbers start going up. For the children, theirs is a bit different, and it's usually as a result of how they develop when they're still in the womb. So the eye has fluid inside, and this fluid is produced inside the eye, then it drains out of the eye through a specific channel. So if it builds up in the eye, it leads to high pressures, which eventually also play the role of damaging the nerve. So in children, this drainage is not well developed, and so by the time they are born, this fluid is now accumulating in the eye, and eventually, if nothing is done, it ends up destroying the eye. The nerve.
Okay. In terms of treatment, what elements then does treatment target? Because if we're looking at the damage of a nerve, is it then slowing down that damage? Is it treating the symptoms that the eye then does have? Is it mechanical intervention like sight aid? And even further to that, are we then looking at reconstruction? I mean, we've seen some fantastic interventions that have been done, but is there anything that can be done for, reconstruction of the nerve itself?
Okay. Treatment is targeted at slowing down the damage to the nerve and eventually the bigger goal of preserving vision. So we have different options of treatment, and what we target is a thing that we can modify, in this case the pressure of the eye, what we technically refer to as intraocular pressure. So we have medications that are designed to bring this pressure down, either by reducing the production of that fluid that we had mentioned in the eye, or increasing its drainage. Then the other option that we have is the lasers that we also are designed to reduce that pressure in the eye. And finally, we have the option of surgery. So surgery also now helps. We create an artificial pathway through which this fluid can drain through and lower the pressure in the eye. Yes.
I have to ask, this is really purely out of ignorance. This laser treatment, that isn't surgery?
It's we classify it also under surgery. Yes, but so there's surgery using laser, and then now the surgery, the physical cutting, and also the surgery where we put type of small drains or tubes inside the eye to help drain the fluid out of the eye.
Usually, we blame a lot of illnesses that we currently grapple with on inactivity, okay? Now, physical inactivity, meaning you sit a lot, you don't walk enough, etc., and then what you eat, processed foods, etc., Now, when you talk of glaucoma, how then do you approach this matter preventatively? What can one do to limit the likelihood of actually growing, having, whatever it is, whatever adjective you want to add to it, glaucoma? What can one do?
The main thing that we emphasize is usually early detection, because if we catch the disease in its early stages, we are really able to do much in terms of slowing it down. So the first thing that we do is ask you to have regular reviews. Have your eyes checked by an eye doctor and see if there are any signs that indicate you could be having glaucoma. And regular, you'd ask how often. We usually recommend at least once a year. Go and see your eye doctor and have it checked. I think that is the best shot that we have in terms of preventing.
So it's nothing to do with what you look at and how long you look at it.
So please clarify. In terms of like watching TV
watching TV or
screen time,
or staring at your phone.
So many things. In retrospect, we hear it now, and it was clearly our parents who were trying to get us to behave in a certain way. Oh, don't watch TV for so many hours, and don't sit so close to TV because you ruin your eyes. And then now, of course, maybe with a little bit more exposure. No pun intended. But here you are saying, look, there's some pressure on that nerve. There's some damage. Is there a relation between the two? Because, I mean, kids today will think, well, my parents said I shouldn't sit too close to the TV because then it causes pressure on my eye. And that's what we're talking about now. We're talking about pressure on that nerve. Is there a relation between the two? Can we put this myth to bed? for eternity?
Okay, thank you for that question. So, no, screen time does not affect your eyes, specifically in terms of glaucoma.
Okay.
Yeah, no, it doesn't.
Okay.
Yeah.
What exactly causes this pressure to build up?
Okay. Remember that drain that we had, the drainage channel that we had talked about? So, if the fluid is not draining out properly through that channel, is what now would lead to an increase in
so mtu atoi machozi.
Sio machozi.
Is there a blockage in the drain? Is there something
So where does it drain to?
compromised?
It's not machozi?
No. So
it goes elsewhere.
It's good to clarify, yes. So machozi is on the surface.
Okay.
Yeah, it's on the surface of the eye. The fluid that we are referring to is inside the eye. What helps retain the shape of the eye. Just like if I use this analogy, if you have a tire, you have to inflate it with air to maintain its shape and also for it to function properly. Yeah, because if you have too high pressures in the tire, it doesn't work as it should. And if it doesn't have any pressure in the tire, it also doesn't work as it should.
Right.
Yeah, so it just has to be optimal.
So it's that liquid, that fluid. If the fluid is not draining, but it's the eye is still producing more, then it increases the pressure.
Yes.
Will you feel anything
as
that pressure is building? Because you said there are people who the optic nerve will be fraying, but they will not have headaches. They'll not feel anything. So, are you saying that as the pressure is building in your eye, you actually are not feeling kama unavimba macho?
No. So, as the fluid is building up in the eye, it's not a complete total blockage. So, some of it is getting out. Okay. So, it will build up to a point where the pressure is above what is supposed to be, what we refer to as the normal eye pressure. So in the medical world, what we consider normal eye pressure when you measure is between 10 and 21. That is the guide we use. So you may find your pressure is around 25, 28, 30, and then it stabilizes at some point. But because by the fact that the pressure is high, it does contribute, though it is not the only thing that leads to the damage. Yeah, it's one of the highest risk factors. And as I had mentioned earlier, since this is happening over a long period of time, you really don't, the eye has adjusted, you don't really feel any symptoms. Yeah, but it is causing damage. Yeah.
You know, it's also important to clarify because the main symptom, like you said, is you start losing vision. You start noticing, peripheral vision going, or in some cases there's some vision at some point going. You start noticing the halo on the light. How is this different from other people who are losing vision? That's
a good question. So reduced vision can be from so many causes. As you say, wale wanapewa miwani is what we refer to as refractive errors. Basically, it's how well they're able to focus when you look at an image. So for them, wakipewa miwani, it helps them to focus clearly. Then there's also blindness as a result.
Focus is not loss of vision.
No, it's not loss of vision. Now you
focus.
have the vision is not as it should be.
Okay.
But vision is not lost. If we give you glasses, we give you lenses, it's able to see.
So lenses are corrective.
They are corrective, yes.
They give you focus.
They give you focus.
Then no focus.
Yes. Then you also have another important cause of decreased vision, cataracts. Basically, there's a lens inside the eye that now gets opaque, usually turns white over time, and it's how I would describe it is like if you have a clear window and then you slowly paint it. So before you could be able to see through the window, but as you paint it, you are not able to see through the window. Yes. So for these cataracts, surgery is available. Once you remove that lens that is not clear anymore and replace it with a clear one, someone is able to see again. Just as the same analogy, if you had painted that window pane and you remove it and you replace with a clear one,
then you'll be fine.
You will be fine.
Right.
Yeah.
Every time one talks of the eye and one talks of blindness, in my mind, one is talking about a very sensitive subject because what you mention as a preventative approach has a cost element attached to it. Now, is there a cost-effective way of ensuring that one actually does have the checkup that is required annually or whatever it is that is required or from an early age so as to prevent this eventuality that is, in my mind, fairly dreadful. Is there a cost-effective way of doing this?
Yes, I would encourage, we have the National Hospital Insurance Fund. Yes, it costs around, for the majority of the public, around 6,000 shillings a year or 500 shillings a month. It is a good investment in terms of taking care of your health. So you can be able to access checkups and have that review that we had talked about so that you can pick the condition up early.
What if you can't afford NHIF? You know that 500 bob monthly. There are people, when they do the maths, at the end of the month they have nothing. So that I mean, they actually, there's a deficit. So if that 500 bob becomes a bit tricky to actually have to pay for this NHIF, what I'm asking is I'm amplifying what Eric asked earlier. You say it's silent, so you can't really tell. But is there no other way beyond the checkup that one can actually engage in to ensure that you prevent this? Because the checkup means going to an expert.
Like a home checkup.
Yes.
There'll be a home checkup kit.
Now you've got it. That's what I'm referring to.
So,
funga macho moja, angalia taa,
simama kwa mguu moja, that sort of thing. Okay. Turn around 6 times on the left. Okay.
Still, the best shot is to have your eyes examined. I'd also recommend government facilities because they offer highly subsidized services, though still a reality that in some cases it may be out of reach of a specific percentage of the public. But government hospitals has eye health workers who are able to assess.
Okay.
Yes. So there's no home check that can help you tell if you have a glaucoma or not.
And there's also no recommended traditional...
no blue-eyed cockroach involved. No.
Let's take a break. It's 9:30. Hey, Dr. Rebecca Nandasaba is an ophthalmologist. Ophthalmologist na optician ni different. And tuambia ni kwa nini. And she works at the Kenyatta National Hospital. She's here to teach us about glaucoma. This is the World Glaucoma Week 2023. Says it's important that you go for those regular checkups and eye checks because glaucoma is a silent cause of blindness. You may not notice it, and then you will notice it. And at that point, it can be taken care of if you go to see a specialist. But if you don't, it can lead to permanent, irreversible blindness. Siti, please tell Daktari about why it's important to fly Emirates, and especially going first class or business.
It's important to fly if you want to get your destination fast, speedily, safely. Air travel is one of the safest ways of traveling worldwide. On the other hand, if you want to travel better, meaning, yes, you're flying, you're going by air, but you want to make sure that this experience of flying by air is something that not only gives you comfort, but gives you a sense of well-being that flying doesn't usually give you, then you fly Emirates. Now, if you really want to feel the full oomph of it, then you want to fly business class and you want to fly first class. There's a cost element attached to it, of course, but the comfort and the experience more than compensates for the cost.
Indeed. Fly better with Emirates. Back shortly, 27 to 10.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Fly Emirates first and business class and look forward to a journey that's as incredible as your destination. Start your holiday with delicious fine dining, impeccable service, and comfort that's out of this world. Sip drinks in our A380 onboard lounge on flights from Dubai and beyond. Watch a movie and drift into a restful sleep in flatbed seats. Treat yourself to Emirates first and business class. Fly Emirates. Fly better.
This is 00 Direct. Woman host, music by women, and only women guests.
Everything is so larger than life. You kind of have to have a good understanding of who you are. You could easily lose yourself.
We have a global approach in the programs that we put together, meaning that it's not just about refining my business, it's about refining the industry. It's about touching the youth and making sure that in totality, change actually happens.
Catch 00 Direct every Saturday from 10 a.m.
Only on
Cloudy conditions in Nairobi this morning, highs of 27 and lows of 15. It's sunny at 19 in Nakuru. We'll go to highs of 24. We'll also see highs of 24 and it's sunny in Nyeri at 18. And at 18, it's sunny in Eldoret, highs of 23. At 30, Mombasa is sunny this morning, highs of 33, and we'll see highs of 32 in Malindi. It's 24 and sunny in Kisumu, highs of 28 and highs of 27 in a sunny Kakamega. 21 degrees and showers in Kampala, highs of 26 and highs of 33 in a sunny Dar es Salaam. It's 17 and sunny in Johannesburg, highs of 25, and it's mostly sunny at 26 in Lagos, going to highs of 33. 31 will be the high in Kinshasa Friday. It's partly sunny at 24. Looking out into close to evening in Beijing, it's 9 degrees and sunny. It's 9 degrees and cloudy in Paris, 11 degrees and cloudy in London, and 8 degrees till Thursday night, New York, coming into Friday. Highs of 14 and lows of 5.
Spice up your life.
No traffic on the Thika Superhighway. That's great. Getting into the city, a little bit of it on the Pangani underpass. And then going out towards Wangari Maathai Way, we'll find some traffic there as it all touches in from traffic coming on Limuru Road. James Gisho Road, traffic had come to an end, but then now we see a little bit of it trickling in through towards Wayaki Way. Lunga still continues, as does Juja Road, but apart from that, I think we're doing all right for Friday morning traffic. We'll be out of it in a short while. SpiceFM KE on Twitter through the morning. Talk to us there as we keep things moving through Friday.
Business News with Spice FM.
I'm Leah Obaga. Safaricom has partnered with Huawei to launch 3 5G centers across Nairobi. Safaricom CEO Peter Ndegwa says the centers will showcase the super-fast speeds and latest devices that come with 5G connectivity. Ndegwa says the experience centers will enable Kenyans to discover the power of 5G firsthand. Safaricom launched its 5G network in October last year, a first in the region, and since then, the company has commissioned over 200 5G sites across 11 counties spread across the country. The Digital Lenders Association of Kenya has rebranded to Digital Financial Services Association of Kenya. The name change comes at a time the association reported disbursing over 500 billion shillings in mobile loans to small businesses and households over the last 8 years. According to the lenders, the rebrand is a strategic bid to deepen financial inclusion by bringing together more players and being more responsive to the dynamic customer needs. More than 8 million Kenyans, equivalent to 1 million customers every year, have benefited from mobile microloans, with an estimated 70% borrowing for business reasons. National Bank of Kenya has posted a profit after tax of 828 million shillings for the financial year ending December 31st, 2022, down from 1.07 billion shillings the same period in 2021. Nonetheless, the bank maintained a strong performance, reporting an operating income growth of 13% to 11.7 billion shillings compared to 10.2 billion shillings recorded in 2021. The KCB Bank subsidiary's revenue growth was contributed by both net interest income and non-funded income. The bank's net interest income grew by 10% to 9.1 billion shillings, mainly contributed by higher lending. The unfunded income stream registered a 29% growth to 2.6 billion shillings, mainly driven by growth from new businesses such as banker assurance and trade finance. Kiosk Digital Services is looking for a sales supervisor with a bachelor's degree in a business-related course with at least 5 years of experience in field sales. Suitable candidates are required to send their CVs and cover letter by 17th March 2023. Visit jobs.digger.co.ke for more information on this and other jobs. Digger Jobs, your credible and trusted jobs partner.
Spice FM Business. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. 101.4 Spice FM.
Teach us about glaucoma in this World Glaucoma Week 2023. She's an ophthalmologist. Let's start with that. What's the difference between ophthalmologist and optician?
Thank you for asking that, because most people actually get lost in terms of differentiating the two. So I'll start with the optician. They are trained healthcare workers whose main focus is correcting vision using glasses. So they're the ones who you go to an optical shop or an eyeglasses shop, and they'll check your vision and they'll give you glasses that help you to see better. Now, an ophthalmologist is a medical doctor who has trained for the first 6 years as a general doctor, and then gone back for a master's degree to train as an eye doctor. And they handle all conditions of the eye, from giving you glasses also to managing cancers of the eye, infections of the eye, and carrying out surgeries of the eye. Yes.
How long does the master's program take?
3 years in Kenya.
So 9 years?
9 years.
No, and in between, there's some time.
There's some
How
time.
many years does it take for somebody to actually graduate as an ophthalmologist?
In terms of school time, is 9 years, but in between there's an year for internship, which brings it to 10. Sometimes you have to work for 2 to 3 years before you go back for your master's. So it can take anything between 10 to 14 years.
So it's about, from there, 14 years is what it has taken for somebody to actually become this specialized.
Yes.
So when they tell you something, pay attention.
Shut up and listen.
Yes, and stop giving them advice on a subject you know next to nothing about.
So you're talking about it's important for people to go for these regular checkups. Is it okay to go to a checkup of this nature for glaucoma at the local optician's shop?
I would advise that you go to an eye doctor for the reason, or the main reason of what they're able to check, and the kind of equipment they have access to help them check your eye properly. I'll take you through what it entails in terms of an eye review when we're checking for glaucoma. So when you come in, first we'll have a talk with you to see how you're doing, how your vision is, and then we'd also assess if you have any risk factors. One of the significant ones being if you have someone in your family who has lost vision due to glaucoma, because that puts you at an even higher risk. Once we have had a discussion with you...
It's hereditary.
Yes, it can be hereditary. Some types, yes. Then once we have had the discussion with you, then now we check your vision. I think for those who have seen an eye doctor, there's usually a chart with letters or numbers that get smaller in size as you read along. That helps us to assess how clearly you're able to see. Then after that, we have a special machine, which we call a slit lamp, that we use to check the pressures of your eye. We measure the pressure and tell is it within normal or not. And then as a last step in terms of physical examination, we look at the nerve of the eye, the one that I had told you earlier about, the one that connects the eye to the brain, and see if there's any damage that has already started taking place. Once we are done with the physical examination, if we find a sign that makes us start moving towards the diagnosis of glaucoma, we need to confirm. And we have tests that are available to us to confirm that. So one of them checks the structure of the nerve and actually quantifies the damage that the nerve has undergone. It's referred to as an OCT. And then you remember we had also mentioned that you lose vision in patches, that we call that the field of vision. So we have a test which we call a visual field test that now would pick out any losses of vision that have started setting in.
How long does all that take?
Usually in a clinic visit, since you're seeing a professional, will take anything between 15 minutes to 30 minutes
all those
for the
things
physical
you've said.
examination. For the physical examination.
For the physical one.
Yes, and then now we'll send you out for the tests.
How long does those ones take?
Usually the test, the visual field takes around 10 minutes for each eye for it to be scanned. And then the one that checks the structure of the nerve, the one I refer to as OCT, that one just takes around 2 minutes.
But do they, ordinary, let's say level 3 health facilities in the country have the equipment to test this?
Unfortunately, the level 3s, they do not have. Yeah, so we may have to refer you to places that have the tests. Yes.
I have to ask, should this particular care be available at level 3? Because many people who want to access healthcare will probably go there first. And if that is the desire, then what prevents level 3s from actually having even the rudimentary facilities that would enable this process that we're speaking about to be achieved?
So at the level 3s, you will be able to have your vision checked, and the kind of equipment they have access to, they're able to examine your nerve and be able to tell if there's damage taking.
That they can do.
The damage setting in.
Okay.
And then if then for the test, then they have to refer you to an institution that has. Yeah.
Okay.
Is it possible for glaucoma to affect both eyes?
Most of the time it does affect both eyes, although most of the time it's what we refer to as asymmetrical. The extent of the damage may not be equally to the same extent at one particular time. But eventually, if nothing is done,
it'll move from one eye to the next.
Yes.
Okay, not moving from one eye to the next, but it will basically affect both eyes.
It will affect both eyes, yeah.
Why? Why would that be the case? If the first one was, pressure because of build-up of this fluid, because there's some blockage, why would the blockage affect both eyes?
Okay, so it's what we refer to as a systemic disease. It's already in both eyes, but in terms of how fast it moves in both eyes is not at the same extent. So I find one eye may actually a bit worse compared to the other. Yes.
You've said that if somebody goes to the health facility early and it's detected early, then it's possible to manage it and avoid that blindness. So what is it that you do to manage it?
The first option that we go to is using medication to control the disease, slow it down. And the type of medication used is in the form of eye drops. Yeah. A different number of eye drops that we prescribe. Occasionally, we may give you drugs to take orally, but that is also for a limited period of time. That is the first option. Yeah. Then now we move to the surgical options. That is the lasers or the actual surgery of making a small drain on the eye.
On the eye, so it can.
Okay, so I don't know. You talked about interventions, and here we are then looking again at the optic nerve, and I'm still going back to that because it just seems as though the damage is okay. Is the damage then that has been caused over time to the nerve irreversible?
The damage is irreversible. Okay. Yeah, it's good for us to clarify that the damage is irreversible, but the aim is to stop that damage from progressing further when we are treating you. Yes.
When we talk about this disease and look at the country, what do we see? Do we see an increase in the cases of people who have this disease, or do we see a reduction in it? And either which way, what do we see as the cause, or what has brought about? If it's a lowering of the prevalence of the disease or an increase, what are the factors that are behind this?
So in glaucoma, we usually have what we refer to as the prevalence, that if you look at the general population, at least 4.3% of people, that is around 4 people in 100 would have the condition. Yeah. So what we aim is to find as many of this population that has glaucoma as possible and treat it. Yes.
So do we see a reduction in the numbers that we speak of? Because if you say 4 in 100, is it a constant? Was there a time it was 6 in 100 or 10 in 100 and now it's 4 in 100? What are we seeing?
It's a constant number. In terms of generally, if you do studies, that is the percentage that you'll find.
That's very interesting. Why?
Yeah.
Seriously, has scientific research explained this? Because I would assume that when you find that 4% is the constant, then there is the push to reduce this 4% to 2% or to eliminate it altogether if it's possible, okay? But if it's a constant, there must be a reason why. And that's why I'm asking.
Okay.
Okay, now, it could be that given our country, we have a population that is an increase. So people are born, greater numbers, the demand for health, everything else is on the increase. So it is possible that even though there are gains, one doesn't see it because of this small factor. But that's me guessing.
So in terms of increase, we would see it as the population grows in terms of the numbers. If at one point Kenya had 30 million people, 4% of that would be a lower number as compared to what we have now when we are at 50 million. So that is now what brings the number of people who have glaucoma high. As the population increases in number, the percentage remains the same, but because now it's a percentage of a bigger number, now the number of people that we have goes higher. But now we also look at what we refer to as risk factors of you getting glaucoma that we cannot change. For example, being African, we cannot change that. Growing older, we cannot change that. Yes. So now that's what keeps the percentage constant. But in terms of the numbers, the more the population grows, now the actual number when you count now goes higher.
It will be more.
It will be more as the time goes by.
Yes.
Yeah. So if you look at 20 years from now, if Kenya will have 70 million people, then the numbers will have gone up. Yeah.
Is there a stage of optic nerve degeneration where you cannot even start applying the eye drops or the surgery as an option?
Yes, when the nerve is completely damaged.
And when do you know that the nerve is completely damaged? That's when somebody has gone completely blind?
When the person has gone completely blind, they cannot see, they cannot even appreciate light. And then when you look at the nerve physically, you can see it's all destroyed.
So any stage before that, as long as someone can see something, you can stop it?
Yes, we usually fight to stop any progression. At whatever stage we find it, we fight to stop progression. Yeah.
So as we commemorate World Glaucoma Week, so now tell us why week, why not day? And then what is it that you ophthalmologists and the others do on this week?
Yeah, it's important that we raise awareness about glaucoma because it does affect, as we have seen, a significant number of people. And loss of vision to one person is a big loss. Yeah, we cannot say it's just one person or just two people. Loss of vision is loss of vision. And the good thing about glaucoma is, as we have mentioned earlier, it's something that we can prevent. There's a lot that we can do to prevent that blindness. Yeah, because if you look at the cost of it, eventually if nothing is done, we lose vision. Why should we lose that vision on this? A lot we can do about it to prevent that. So that's why now we dedicate a whole week to bring awareness concerning this condition. Yes.
We see a lot of drives conducted, let's say, by various organizations and charities, but they talk about cataracts and other things. How come we don't hear many of the drives being conducted on glaucoma?
We actually do the drives every year in March. We commemorate the World Glaucoma Week. Yeah. And as you had asked earlier, what do we do as you commemorate?
Yeah.
We screen patients. We ask them to come. We offer free checkups. Where now we check if there's any sign of glaucoma. Yeah, and we institute treatment for those who we find have glaucoma. And we basically let people know, as we are doing today, that look, there's this condition that could affect the eye and it's silent. Please have your eyes checked. Yes.
Okay. I know we had talked about prevalence in Kenya and looking at now the numbers that we're seeing. Over time, in terms of what has been done, the treatment that has been done, are people becoming more aware? Or are we seeing that there's, a greater appetite for preventative care, especially when it comes to this? We're spending, quite some days looking at it and talking about it, World Glaucoma Week. Do we see, if you look at the patterns, that folks are then becoming more engaged when it comes to finding out what really is going on in there?
Yeah, many people actually ask. Yeah, you find people when they come to the clinic, they would ask, please, Daktari, someone lost vision in my family, could you please check for this?
Yeah.
So with time it's bearing fruit and people are asking. Yeah. And also as they come to hospital, we always check all our patients to see is there a problem. And if there is, we inform them. And then also for the patients that we have who already have glaucoma, remember we said family members can also be at risk. We ask them, to ask their family members to come for an eye check. And most of them actually do tell their family members to come, and they come. Yeah, so we are making progress.
What relationship does the government have with some of these private entities that focus on eye treatment? Like I know there's Alliance Eye Treatment Center somewhere around Westlands, and there are others.
The Lions.
Yes. So when we have this week of glaucoma, the concerted efforts by all the players in this field, what is it that they plan to do so that the general public can, one, know, and two, benefit from the activities that have been put in play to celebrate this week?
Okay. There's a lot of public-private partnership going on between a government institution and the private institutions. So we collaborate to work together. I remember I had mentioned that there are some equipment that we may not have. So patients who are in areas where the government hospitals don't have, either by the virtue of their level or the amount of equipment they have, we cannot access some services. We work together with the private hospital in terms of referring our patients there for the scans and them coming back. When it comes to commemorating days such as this, they work together with the Ministry of Health to create that awareness. Yes. And then the government also is really supporting the training of eye doctors. Yeah, so and not just eye doctors, you also have ophthalmic clinical officers, ophthalmic nurses now too, helping treatment.
Stop there. Ophthalmic what again?
Clinical officers. Yes.
Who are those?
So
just in training.
So in Kenya, we have different cadres of healthcare workers.
Yes.
We have the medical doctors. We have the clinical officers. Yes, the equivalent of physician assistants in the US. And then we have nurses. Yes.
And even nurses, you have categories of nurses, isn't it?
We have categories of nurses.
Yes.
So you find that those who are also trained to care for patients with eye conditions. Yes.
So those are now the
ophthalmic nurses. Yes.
Okay. And the clinical officers who are trained to do the eye at the clinical
ophthalmologists. Yeah, so we're working with a really wide range of healthcare workers to really take care of the eyes of Kenyans. Yes.
How many ophthalmologists do we have in Kenya?
Currently, the number is at around 115, 120.
115?
Yes.
1,000?
No, 115.
Only?
Yes.
115
around there.
Ophthalmologists in the country. What's the burden of care that they are looking over? So it's one ophthalmologist, and by the time treating how many patients?
1 million.
And by the time we are saying that glaucoma is an issue whereby these number of days has to be given to raise awareness or to encourage treatment or even health-seeking behavior. What's the burden that Dr. Nadasaba has to have in terms of patients?
Yeah, that's a critical point you raise, because clearly we are few. So the number of patients, I don't have the exact figure, the calculation, but the number of patients one doctor has to handle is quite high.
We can do the maths. If we're 50 million Kenyans and 115 of you,
yes,
each of you has something like 500,000 like this.
Exactly, yes. So that is quite a challenge in our setup. And now also, that's why we really have to work together with all the healthcare workers to really manage and bring access to healthcare in terms of the situation that we are in. The ophthalmic clinical officers that I have mentioned, the ophthalmic nurses. So we work together to collaborate and make sure we are able to do the best with the numbers that we have. But you also remember I had mentioned that the government is supportive in terms of training more healthcare workers. So it is a work in progress. Yes, it will take time, but it is important to know that at least there's something being done about it. Yeah, when I joined, there were fewer. I think at that time there were 90-something ophthalmologists. Yeah, but at least every year we are trading more.
So what does that mean? Is it that they're encouraging more to join the trade? Or what does growing the number entail?
Training.
And training is determined by interest, isn't it?
So it's interesting more students or more qualified doctors to actually go and specialize in this.
In ophthalmology, yes.
I wonder, because there are more people being trained as doctors, just the numbers. And so, by virtue of these numbers, just as the population is increasing, how far do we scratch the surface? Because we are scratching the surface, really. Okay.
Tuachie tu hapo. Tuseme daktari, continue. Keep up the good work that you're doing. And thank you for coming to join us today.
Thank you so much for having me.
Dr. Rebecca Nandasaba is an ophthalmologist based at the Kenyatta National Hospital. She's been here today, demarcating us about World Glaucoma Week 2023 and telling us about the disease. Remember, people, go for those regular screenings. Okay? It's not the one for the optician. This is the one for going to a specialist and saying, ebu angalia macho yangu. Sioni kama naona. Thank you for joining us this week. See you again next week. Enjoy your weekend. It's 10 a.m.
Spice up your life.
At the top of the hour on Vibes Radio.